Hello,
Colleen.
Colleen, can you hear us?
I'll go see if it's dropping over there.
Colleen, can you hear us?
Ringing.
Hey,
Maybe
yes,
we
I
can-
can hear you guys. I'm here.
We're using a new technology system, Colleen, so we're very excited that you can hear us.
Well, I'm excited for you guys as well.
Thank you for
You're gonna be
joining.
front and center tonight, Colleen. don't
Thank you
worry.
for joining, and thanks to everyone who is here. And I do believe we have a quorum.
Me too.
Oh, hello. Laura. All right, so, and we have the door.
Here,
Elizabeth, why don't you start while I deal with the door?
Okay, so welcome everyone to the November 2025 meeting of the Transportation Committee of Community Board 7. I'm Elizabeth Kudo and Jamie Floyd.
And I'm trying to get the door to work.
So we have an agenda tonight. It is pretty brief. I know we have a couple people from the public here who may want to join or are here to listen. But the main substantive item on the agenda was to revisit a piece of legislation or a piece of a resolution that CB7 had put forward and passed at the full board level back in 2021, which may be familiar to some of you more than others. So we're gonna start a discussion on that with a more formal resolution to be brought forward ideally next month. And with that will be more of a community discussion. Obviously, there's a quick turnaround between some things that happened at full board and then our meeting being Monday and not Tuesday this month. So we figured we'd start the discussion here, get it ready and move it forward. But before we do that, I think, well, I'll just say it. I don't know if Alex wants to or not, but I mean, this is my last meeting as a co-chair. And I think, I don't know, Alex, if you'd like to say something?
Oh, yeah, I just want to thank you guys for your co-chairmanship, and everyone should have got my email this morning, but maybe didn't. But Ken and Sophia will be co-chair starting, 5 hours. In my email, I detail it, and please do read it, because I put a lot of thought into it, but trying to get people moving around more as a way of distilling the great learnings that we have from different committees into other committees, so.
You want
check out
people
my-
to move around more, just give them an Omni card.
Yes. This is the co-chair Omnicard. Yes,
Um,
thank you.
So I guess on the agenda, we'll just start and go through things. But again, we don't have any external speakers tonight. And we wanted to have a more robust discussion about what we identified at our last meeting, coming out of our last meeting as probably the most prevalent topic in the neighborhood when it comes to safety, which does have to do with e-bikes, among other things. So Jay has very graciously taken the lead on that as a follow-up from our meeting last month. Laura, I know you were here last month, and thank you for coming and presenting to us. We really appreciate it, and I think the new co-chairs will determine how and when that moves forward. That is going to be up to them, but it's really good to see you. What else, Jamie? I guess we can,
I
yeah.
think we can, anybody want to move to adopt the agenda?
So.
Why not?
One. And second. A second. And we moved. So I guess, Jay, this will be, Ken, did you have something you wanted to say? Or you're just agreeing to adopt the agenda? Thank you. Okay, so I guess it's going to be, this is a draft, an old draft.
So the e-bikes resolution, I don't know if we wanted, given that Colleen may have some material information that relates to e-bikes. I don't know, Colleen, if you want to start. And then we go to Jay and then we go to Andrew.
Yeah,
Does that seem like it might?
does that sound okay, Colleen? That makes sense to me, but I think we may have lost
Yeah,
her for a moment.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Let me pull up my info on the e-bikes. Okay, so hi everyone, it's Colleen Chattergoon from City Department of Transportation. How are you? How exciting for Ken and Sophia. Congratulations to both of you. I just want to mention that Andrew Albert is famous. I saw him on Channel 7 News this evening.
Yes,
Thank you.
famous again.
Famous
Today was-
indeed.
Slappy Mazel Awards for the buses, slowest, most improved and things like that.
What was slowest?
Well, you get that, we.
Oh, you could tell us.
Sharing the
when you were-
report.
Yeah,
No,
spoiler,
I'm not
spoiler.
gonna- No, that's just as of today, so.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. He'll let you know in his MTA update. So as many of you know, the mayor has announced on October 20, the mayor announced that the New York City has implemented a new 15 miles per hour speed limit for all e-bikes, e-scooters, and pedal assist commercial bicycles on city streets. And this became effective on November 24th of this year. So the new regulation is part of an effort to enhance public safety with enforcement beginning immediately. There are penalties for violations, which will include, once it's enforced, which is actually November 24th. And those violations starts at $100. So some of the key details of the new speed limit law is that it's the 15 mile per hour speed limit applies, as I mentioned, to e-bikes, e-scooters, and commercial pedal assist bicycles, including rental bikes like City Bike. And the goal is to slow down faster moving e-bikes and scooters to improve safety for both riders and pedestrians. So the NYPD, they are enforcing the new speed limit, and the city has started distributing informational pamphlets to riders. So riders caught exceeding the limit may face fines, as I mentioned, starting at $100. Repeating offenses could also result in e-bike impoundment. So major companies like DoorDash, City Bike have signaled their support for the new limit. And we have been having conversations with the Central Park Conservancy, with the Central Park Precinct, as well as parks, on appropriate signage for e-bike users in the drives. And that's something that we are exploring, and we'll keep the community board informed of our next steps. The other thing that I wanted to mention with the e-bikes is that we have installed quite a few signage along major corridors where the bridges at the frontage of the bridges, New York City bridges. So we've installed quite a few of those signs there, as well as some of the avenues where we see large ridership of e-bikes. So I'm interested to hear what Jay has to say about the e-bikes, and especially in your CB7 district.
Very interested to see what Jay.
I think we're all eager.
Can we ask questions?
Yeah, can we ask?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, of course. Colleen, did you have anything else you wanted to add before some questions come in on that?
Only that no, go ahead, Ken.
Okay, and
Okay,
then Howard.
Okay.
first of all, how does the NYPD plan on enforcing this?
Well,
Did
from
you
Ken, I have not been a part of that conversation, but what I know is that, as you know, the New York City Department of Transportation, we're not an enforcement agency, but we work very closely with NYPD on a lot of our safety improvement projects. And this one initiative, we have been, the higher ups have been speaking with NYPD in terms of creating an enforcement, an enforcement strategy to see how best that they can do this. And I know like a lot of outreach has started where we have been our NYPD has been giving out pamphlets. I know the Central Park Precinct has been doing that in the drives. So, the word is spreading, and in terms of enforcement, my guess is that if they do see someone who is, riding recklessly on the e-bike, I'm sure like what they would do with a motor vehicle, they'll pull them over and see if they have IDs, and if that's the case, issue them a summons. But I think it's too early to say what the status or, the data from that information, only because this has just been implemented.
And this applies just to e-bikes or to regular bikes also?
It's e-bikes. It's an e-bike speed limit sign initiative.
Okay,
And she mentioned and pedal assist.
Pedal
Right.
assist, yeah.
But I think the
That's
15 mile an hour
just-
applies
Yeah.
to any vehicle. In Central Park, it doesn't specify e-bikes
Yeah.
only. It says
Yeah.
anything.
It's
15.
it's pedal assist, and it's also City Bike users as well.
Okay, the last time there was a 15 mile an hour speed limit in Central Park, which was, I think, 2011, something like that. What they did was they, the hill by the pool and the
Yes.
skating rink.
Yes.
It's very
Really well.
difficult to maintain a 15-mile-an-hour speed going down that hill unless you brake the entire time. So they were catching people at the bottom of the hill, hitting, maybe 20. And it was kind of a gotcha. And so do you know whether they have plans to do that?
I will, go ahead, Colin.
This is the first I'm hearing of that, Ken, so I can take that back and we can talk to NYPD about that.
I mean,
Okay.
Let's go, I was gonna go to Howard.
Because just one final thing.
Okay,
Um,
Ken,
the
that's
police-
4.
The police.
My last meeting, I might as well.
Yeah, may as well, yeah.
You can get me next time.
The police typically give drivers a 6-mile-an-hour leeway in enforcing, the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Do you know whether they plan to do the same with bikes?
Ken, I would imagine that it is something that they plan on doing, but again, I can't speak on what the enforcement strategy is for the NYPD. Because I don't know, I don't have much information on that, but I can circle back with you and let you know.
Okay,
I will, let's turn to Howard. I will say, unless Doug corrects me, that there is a Central Park Precinct meeting this Wednesday, is there not?
I think it is, but
So that would be an appropriate place, I think, for many of these questions, Howard.
Correct.
Can you explain the rationale of why vehicles that cause fewer injuries and are much lighter have a lower speed limit? I would think it would be the reverse. The kind of vehicles that are much heavier and cause more damage to human beings on the street, they should have a lower speed limit. Why is it reversed?
That's an excellent question that you're raising, Howard. I don't know what the mechanism was involved with that. And again, these legislations are passed by, the assembly member, the state legislature and city councils. I don't really, I can't speak on behalf of what the rationale is behind that in terms of the numbers. Maybe it's, they're looking at data in terms of injuries that makes this decision. But again, it's a great question and I would have to dig in a little bit deeper to find out about that.
Thanks.
Doug had his hand up and Elizabeth also wanted to say something.
So I just want to get clarity. This is not what I wanted to mention, but you're saying that pedal powered bikes have no limit, is that right? This is
So-
only enforced e-bikes? Because there are some wonderful pedal powered cyclists that could absolutely go way faster.
So this is applicable, the 15 mile per hour speed limit, right? It applies to, again, e-bikes, e-scooters, and commercial pedal assist bicycles, including rentals like City Bike. So that's what it is.
Point of information, pedal bikes have the same speed limit that SUVs have, 25 miles an hour. That both are limited to 25 miles an hour.
Okay, so, all right, so thank you for clarifying that.
So
So
you can hear them
the-
coming.
the,
You can hear
the thing that does concern me is that most bikes don't have speedometers. So to me, that's it's kind of a built-in defense. How do you know? So, but one thing that I've noticed, yeah, what I think is really helpful, and I've seen it around the country, is upstate New York. If you drive through the town of Tuxedo on Route 17, which is a notorious speed trap, as you approach the town from east or west, there is a thing that says, this is how fast you're going, right? And I think that would be really helpful, particularly in Central Park,
they have them.
they have them already.
They have it. Yeah,
When you say they don't work, I
they don't
mean,
work.
what do you
They
mean? it
do.
doesn't
There are
work?
10
It works
people
less
passing
than
it at a
Somebody
time.
jogs by and it registers them at like 40.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
well-
it needs to be calibrated, obviously it needs to be accurate.
It's
Well-
just there are too many people going by.
I disagree a
Okay, so
little
maybe
bit
it
on
needs
that.
to,
I
so
mean,
to my point, maybe this needs to, it needs to be a device that actually works and is visual and visible. Because I'll tell you right now, you go 5 or 6 miles over the speed limit in the town of Tuxedo, you're getting a ticket, and that's been that way for 20 years, but that visual aid really helps. And that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Doug.
I was
Elizabeth?
just to add to that, I mean, I have a different perspective on the park situation. I'm in there every day and, I do see pretty accurate speeds. I mean, I have an Apple Watch and it's telling me how slow I'm running. I mean, I can, I can see with me, I don't think it's a situation where there are like 45 people and it's registering 40 miles an hour. Is it accurate? Probably not as accurate as other speedometers are, but it's there. And I also have seen the PD there nearby doing some enforcement. So again, I don't know if they're giving out like just a warning or what, but I have seen it. So I think it's maybe a good first step.
Yeah, we'd like to see multiple.
Not enough, but it's
Installations
like
of
at
it.
least something. And the 15 miles an hour, my understanding was that that at least for City Bike, that they were, maybe somebody came to our meeting and told us this, but they were originally they went to 20 or 18 miles an hour and they've reset them so
Yeah,
that they cannot go above the speed limit now. Of that, of that amount. But I mean, I totally agree that it is, when you're going down the Great Hill, it's hard. And what I see there is a sign that says slow down. And it's not anything more than that, but that's what I literally saw it earlier this morning.
Yeah, so the maximum speed for a city bike is 15 miles per hour. Yeah, it's that's what it's it's typically around 8 to 10 miles per hour for the average rider.
So everyone else should get a speedometer on the bike.
Or they should equip.
All right, Colleen, did you have anything else you wanted, anyone have any other questions for Colleen on this topic? All right, anything else, Colleen, you wanted to speak about beyond this topic before we move on to the excitement of the
Yeah.
evening? Jay?
Start covering everything, that's fine.
I guess, Colleen, would you be able to give a, like, just a little bit of a debrief of the walking tour that we did? And I know that's something that a number of community board members, attended with you, just if there are any follow-ups or next steps, lessons learned from that for just a minute or so.
Yeah, sure. So I had a walking tour with Elizabeth and with with Elizabeth and with my colleague from my colleague from Signals Division, and Andrew joined us as well. And I think there was another gentleman from the CB7, but I'm sorry, I cannot remember his name. Forgive me.
Ken
Was there?
Ken and Carrie. were
Yeah,
also
Ken
there.
was there. Ken was there, but I just couldn't remember Carrie's name. And
And a lot of
this
people needed to be with it.
so this
I do.
so the walkthrough, we had the walkthrough about a week and a half ago. And the walkthrough was based on a resolution that the community board had sent to DOT requesting left turn signals at several intersections where the committee felt like it is feasible. That is something that we should consider. And we looked at, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations. We looked at West 86th Street and Amsterdam Avenue, West 96th Street and Amsterdam Avenue, West 96th Street and West End Avenue, and also West 106th Street and Amsterdam Avenue. So what we looked at there, we looked at the left turn signal, and most of it was in the eastbound direction, onto northbound Amsterdam Avenue. And the thing is with this is that, we are more than happy to look at the locations to determine if we can install left turn signals. So what I've done is that I've created a case. It's been assigned to our signals division, and they are going to be looking into it. And I should have something hopefully within, the month or so, maybe within a month and a half, to report back to the community board. But I thought it was a really great site visit. We were able to see, what the traffic movements at those locations, especially during busy times of the day.
Ken?
Yeah, I forget the name of the traffic, signal division guy.
Nady is his name, Nady.
Yeah, so what he said was they had to go back and see whether the amount of traffic met their warrant. for, the amount of crossing
Signals.
traffic, because the issue is drivers turning left against oncoming traffic and
Mhm.
paying attention to the oncoming traffic, not paying attention to crossing pedestrians. And which is a, very dangerous situation for the pedestrians. So, that's the issue, but there was one, really, we did get one, thing out of it, immediately, which was at West End and 96. He agreed that they should put in an amber flashing yellow, left turn arrow, rather than a green arrow, which would just indicate caution. And he thought that was needed, and that's a very dangerous place. So, and there's a school right there too.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
correct, Ken, and that's something that we are gonna be looking into. You're right. It's the flashing beacon for the left turn movement onto West End Avenue.
Colleen,
Under
how,
96.
how long,
Yeah.
Colleen, once an assessment is made about a signal change like that, how long does it generally take for the change to come about?
So usually the change, depending, it usually, I want to say it should be probably less than 2 weeks. For
Wow.
the modifications. Yeah, the modification doesn't take that long to make.
Because you don't have to really change anything out, right? It's not.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just it's just movements, within that intersection. So it's not like we
Mhm.
have to, make any drastic changes.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Anything else, Colleen?
Sure. So I do have some updates for you on the 72nd Street protected bike lane from Riverside to York Avenue. I just wanted to let you know that it's unlikely that we'll be able to present the project in 2025. The bike unit is coordinating with several departments within DOT as well as the MTA. Our goal is to present the project in early 2026, which will be, I want to say maybe February, with the installation plan for that same year. Additionally, we need to consider the new administration, and we will continue to work until we learn how the project will be evaluated under the new leadership. So the goal again is to come to CB7 either in February, and then the implementation will be in 2026.
Any news on the bike corral?
Your famous bike corral. So the bike corral is likely going to be installed in spring of 2026. That's because our marking season is completed. And again, this is the bike corral on Amsterdam Avenue on West 71st Street. And it's 4 sleds that we are going to be installing that's going to accommodate approximately 24 to 30 bicycles. So, and the good news is that, and as I promised, that we will remove the current bike racks that are installed on the sidewalk. So, again, our marking season has wrapped up, so we won't be able to install it because we were focusing on, priority projects.
39 degrees now.
Got it.
Yeah, can't do that. Exactly. The thermoplastic is not going to stick.
But you're gonna remove the bike racks before?
We're gonna remove the bike racks that are on the sidewalk.
Right, so
Yeah.
where are all the people who are parking there, where are they gonna park?
They're
A lot
gonna
of-
park in the bike corrals.
Oh, so you're not gonna remove them until the bike corral is,
That's
Correct.
correct. Yeah, we
Good.
won't remove them until the bike corrals are installed. That's correct, Ken.
It was
Great.
part of the
Yeah.
deal. They would
Yeah.
stay there.
good.
Yeah. So that's going to be installed in spring 2026. And the other thing that I wanted to report on is the micro hub pilot. So as most of you know, New York City DOT, we installed 3 micro hubs on Upper West Side as part of the NYC DOT Smart Curbs program. One was
Right.
one was at, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Elizabeth and Doug was at was at the ribbon cutting ceremony.
It was for Earth
Yes.
Day. Yeah,
Yes.
Andrew was
That's-
there.
Yes, and Andrew was there. So we installed one on Amsterdam Avenue and West 73rd Street, another at Amsterdam Avenue and West 85th Street. That's where we were at. And then the third location was at Broadway and West 77th Street. So just to give you a little update on where we are with this, I'm told that from my colleagues, that, let's see, Net Zero, which is the company that we've been working with, and Amazon were able to begin using their micro hubs soon after installation earlier this year, with the use of the cargo bikes and hand carts respectively for the last mile delivery. UPS ultimately decided not to participate, and the third site was transferred to Net Zero. In the last month, Net Zero, they faced some challenges with operations, and they have taken a pause. So we're working with them to understand how to best move forward with the 2 spaces they were assigned. So these spaces will likely be reassigned if Net Zero cannot utilize them. Right now, Amazon continues to use the space as intended, which is really good. So both companies have shared their data with us, and we will use the information to help improve and expand upon the pilot next year. So based on the data that we're getting from the companies, we'll be able to inform the community board on how well we're doing, and if we are going to expand, and again, where we're going to expand the pilot. So that's the latest with the micro hub.
Oh, that's great. Just a couple of things on that, Colleen. Thank you for the update. We actually did a call on this last week with Community Board 5. You've been in contact with about the expansion potentially into their part of Manhattan as well. And for the new co-chairs, this is something we've also talked about with the BCI co-chairs. And so Colleen, Natasha Cosme and Michelle Parker, who are the chairs of our BCI committee, are very interested in this topic because it's to them, I mean, to all of us, it's sort of a business and consumer issue as much as it is a transportation one, given the companies and so forth that are involved in the streetscape. So hopefully you guys can keep them apprised as this moves forward. And then I guess just, is there any, my second question was just, with the changing administration, is there any possibility that this could change or move or go away? Or is it?
It's too early for me to decide. I mean, it's too early for me to tell you whether, this will change or if it's going to remain. We won't know yet. So I'm not going to even tell you what the plans are with this. Yeah.
Okay.
But I will keep Natasha appraised of the BCI committee, and I'll get her information from Alex, and I'll let her know what the latest is on it.
And her co-chair,
Yeah, her
Michelle.
co-chair, Michelle.
Yes.
Just quick, I saw some changes made to the southeast corner of 91st and Amsterdam. It looked like it was a micro hub. Do you know what that installation is? It wraps around on Amsterdam, wraps up to 91st Street. Is that a micro hub?
It might be, but let me confirm. You said it's 91st and Amsterdam?
Yes.
I'll find that and I'll get,
Okay.
We walked by that actually, Colleen. And we identified it as daylighting, but it's really big daylighting. It's like more than you need.
Yeah.
And it wasn't daylighting on the north.
Yeah, it looked like it was daylighting, but I don't think it was, that's a, micro hub, but I'll confirm that.
So much daylighting. It lights up.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Carrie, I have.
Sorry if I missed this. I just wanted to ask, we spoke 2 months ago about the dynamic pricing pilot and how that had been pulled. The community board, we had passed a resolution addressing that, and it was passed by the full community board at our last full board meeting. Is there any update regarding that?
I don't have an update for you this evening. Let me check with my colleagues and I'll get back to you. I'll share that information with the co-chairs, and they can pass that along to you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Thanks, Colleen. And if you want to stick around, we'd love to have you stick around.
I'm going to stick around. Yes, I'm going to stick around in case any DOT issues come up. I'll definitely stick around.
Amazing.
And we do have several people who are on the Zoom. We have this new system. I assume I'd see their hands. But But forgive me if I'm missing you. You can just speak out if you have a question for Colleen. Otherwise, I guess we'll move on to
Yeah.
Jay.
No, you got it.
Right?
They would have to raise their hand.
That phone
Then you
number
can-
good, I don't
And you
know.
can click on it and say like,
But where would we?
allowed to talk. about-
No, I understand that
They- they
part,
have
but I,
it.
Nicole, can you do it? Can you pretend to
Nicole,
raise
raise
your
your
hand?
hand or
Raise your hand.
Seema, just so we can see what it would look like.
Oh.
Oh, it'll be up there.
No, no, here.
Oh, okay, terrific,
Oh,
just like,
thank you,
just like a
Nicole.
laptop. Okay, terrific. Nicole, would you like to, no, I'm just kidding. Thank you for playing our game. Okay, thank you, Seema. Are we ready for Jay?
I think so. There's also. Oh, wait,
Yes,
Ed,
oh,
do you,
maybe.
wait, Edward
Yeah, it was
Rosenfeld
over
has
here
his hand
before.
raised.
Oh, there's an actual hand raised.
Is that a hand raise or
Ed,
is
are
that
you,
just a
are
test?
you, raising your hand, Edward, for real? Or are you, just showing us
He
that you
raised it
can raise
earlier.
your
He
hand?
raised it earlier.
You have to promote.
Okay,
you're allowed to
terrific.
talk, promote to panelists.
Let's. Oh, a lot going on there. Can you go ahead, Edward? You're muted. We can't hear you. Go ahead.
Mute. Okay.
Go right ahead.
You know, if you just look in the chat window, I made like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 comments about the way in which controlling e-bikes has been implemented, and it's well intentioned, but I don't think it's going to work because of the way e-bikes can be, the way the law can be enforced. It's really not very enforceable to enforce 15 miles an hour on an e-bike. I've been biking in New York City since the 80s, and I've dealt with this before. And it doesn't take into account the fact that there are different types of e-bikes. The e-bikes that are really of concern are the ones with throttles. And that is not going to help when delivery drivers are using their throttle and using the bike lanes. And if they go into the streets and they're limited to 15 miles an hour, as someone else pointed out, they're competing with cars at 25. So it should really be that throttled bikes aren't allowed to use bike lanes. There's what's called Class 1 bikes that are limited by the technology to assist at 20 miles an hour. And you have to pedal. And that's the big difference. You need to look into throttled bikes and treat them as vehicles. And e-bikes that are assisted should be treated as bicycles. Now, as far as enforcement goes in places like the Hudson Greenway and Central Park, the real danger there is speed, and that includes regular bikes. There are people there who think it's a racing speedway to train for the next Olympics. And that is dangerous. It's a multi-use area. People go 30, 35 miles an hour or more. And they don't follow the law. And so the enforcement is very deficient. And I could tell you that the reason the enforcement is deficient is in many cities which are bike friendly, like let's say Portland, bicycles are, laws are enforced by policemen on bicycles, not in patrol cars. You can't have a patrol car on the Greenway and enforce the law. The Greenway is very dangerous and it's very crowded. And it's a major thoroughfare for both bicycles and pedestrians between the Upper West Side and the rest of the city, whether you're going north or south. How do you have a policeman in a patrol car on a Greenway? I have never, ever seen a policeman on a bicycle in New York City. They need to get onto bicycles and they need to understand people on bicycles.
Okay, Edward. Thank you so much for your
Can I
thoughts.
just add something to that?
Yes,
I
go
think
ahead,
We've
Howard.
had crackdowns before, and what happens is they go after the guy who is 80 years old, going 5 miles an hour through a red light in a T intersection.
Exactly, that's why,
Wait, just let me finish.
Hold on,
And
Edward.
the guy going 30 miles an hour, looking at their phone, the kamikaze going in the wrong direction, diagonally through an intersection, there is just no way that a police car is going to stop that person. So when we have these crackdowns, it's the 80-year-old going 5 miles an hour through a red light on a T intersection who gets the ticket. And if anything, people are incentivized to get even crazier, because the crazier you get, the less likely the police can stop you. So that's something, I don't have an answer. I'm just raising the question. This is something that the police department is going to have to figure out what to do, because the paradox can be that you incentivize more outrageous behavior. And that has to be reined in, and that's something that they have to figure out. I don't have the answer, but I definitely have the
I have a
question.
question for you, Hal.
Yes,
How did you know that guy was 80 years old?
this is actually a real
It
person.
actually,
Ageometer.
it happened to a friend of mine. He's
Yes.
actually
Ageometer.
85.
But I've seen this happen.
Okay.
Colleen, do you have any, I think we're gonna move on
Yes, I
if,
think it's
uh,
time to move on.
unless Colleen has any response. I think it's stuff Colleen will certainly take back as they think about. We know that you don't do enforcement, DOT, but we point
Yeah.
taken.
I was
All
just gonna
right.
say, you know, e-bikes, throttle or, you know, those that are class 2. I mean, they still have to, follow the traffic laws. I mean, it's something, you know, as Elizabeth mentioned, I will take back. It's a interesting question that, that the gentleman raised, that it's something that should be considered and looked at as well.
Thank you, Colleen, very
You're welcome.
much. Go ahead. I
Um,
look to my future.
This just relates to the class 3 e-bikes. There is legislation in the city council that would ban the sale of them in New York City as a way of beginning to reduce their numbers. Because they can go 25. And that, so only e-bikes, if we got rid of the class 3 and they're totally throttled. Then the only e-bikes that would be on the streets could legally go 20. And that would be the maximum speed. So I just want to mention, this is in the council now.
Well, that's a good segue
Good
into
luck.
what Jay is gonna be. We're gonna be starting our conversation.
to adjourn.
No, thanks for that. So I guess we're on to our main item tonight.
Absolutely.
Not that Andrew isn't a main item, because I know the MTA is always a
Our
main
next
item
main
for
item,
us,
yes.
but
Indeed.
on to a discussion of e-bikes, and for those that came in late, discussion tonight. Next month will be a resolution, and a more robust community discussion and vote.
Well, I was asked to give a little bit of a historical background, having authored the 2 resolutions that this board passed in 2021. For those of you who weren't here, and those of you who have forgotten, or those of you who don't. Those of you who don't care. Anyway, just
We
quickly.
all care.
Just quickly, so the idea was to get everybody refreshed on some of the facts of what we've done and talk about some of the things we might want to do. The first resolution was passed in September of 2021 by the full board, and it was a request to New York City DOT, New York State DOT, the mayor's office, the governor's office, almost anybody that might ultimately have some input into the issue. And that was the time when the number of e-bikes was exploding. And we as a board felt it needed to be looked into. After that resolution was passed, a couple of months went by and we heard nothing. So we took up the issue again with some specific recommendations. Those were registration, insurance, some actually rider safety, a helmet requirement, and increased and enhanced enforcement of the traffic rules, which apply to actually all bicycles. But we were concerned with, particularly with e-bikes. That resolution also passed the full board, and here we are 4 years later. So what has happened is we got a reduced speed limit law in the city. And I'll tell you, I have some reservations about that, which I won't discuss. I'll discuss next time, if and when we consider, a resolution. So the speed limit, reduction passed. Recent bill passed requiring, delivery workers to have helmets and high visibility vests, which on some level are more important for their safety. But I guess part of the consideration was that the highly visible vest would make it easier for people to see them coming. So that's where we are now, pretty much.
Jay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but, and for nighttime, I think they were supposed to have something reflective,
Well,
so
I think those vests
are
are,
reflective.
in addition to just being white poles there, they are reflective. They're typically the vests that you see construction workers
Mhm, right.
wearing. So, and I'd just like to give you a couple of interesting facts as to where we are now. I mean, I don't have to tell anybody that the number of e-bikes in the city has skyrocketed. I saw an interesting statistics, and by the way, it's very difficult, if not impossible, if anybody has an avenue to do so, to get statistics on how many delivery bikes there are, how many delivery trips there are, and so forth. But City Bike has a lot of data available. So, just, it's interesting, there are now about 35,000 city bikes in use in the city. Now there 15,000 of them are e-bikes. So it's a significant amount, and you know, I have no information on it, but my gut tells me it's gonna accelerate, and no pun intended, greatly as time goes on, that there'll be more and more e-bikes. The e-bike ratio is going to increase. Between January and towards the end of May of this year, City Bike recorded 2 million trips on e-bikes. That's a lot
Trips or
of
miles?
trips.
Can you give those dates again?
Between the first of the year and I think the actual date was May 25th.
Okay.
And now, you know, there's another 5 months that have gone by, and those second 5 months are warm months and et cetera, et cetera. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're in the neighborhood of 5 million e-bike trips just on City Bike. Another statistic which I couldn't find any record of, and maybe somebody can do better, is other than City Bikes and privately owned, not privately owned, other than City Bikes and delivery bikes, how many just privately owned trips
Right.
there are? I think, by my own observation and anecdotally, as we all look around the neighborhood and see the activity, that the vast majority of e-bike activity that we see are deliveries. And the non-deliveries are largely city bikes. You don't see a lot of just plain old e-bikes, people driving around. And as they've proliferated, what we've learned from all of our, literally all of our elected officials is that complaints about e-bikes far exceed any other area of complaints that they receive in their offices. They've been to our meetings, they've mentioned it. So, you know, the reasons for taking this up again are apparent. And I don't think anybody would quarrel with the fact that we need to take a fresh look at what's happened, what hasn't happened, the conduct that we're concerned about, and see if we have any consensus on some recommendations. The recommendations that we made 4 years ago, I think are still relevant. To me, the most important is registration. And that
That's with a license plate.
which comes with a license. That would obviously be a huge tool in enforcement. You can't, you know, if a speed camera takes a picture of someone on an e-bike and there's no means of identification, it's worthless. And registration is relatively simple. Along with requiring registration, I would recommend that the dealers have the responsibility of handling the registration, just like car dealers or truck dealers or motorcycle dealers do. It's their responsibility to register what they sell. And I think that the next problem that addresses, which is also a serious problem, is if something happens, if there's a collision involving an e-bike, whether it's with a pedestrian or another e-bike or with a cyclist on a manually operated bike, there's also no means of identification on the vehicle. One of our past chairs, Steve Brown, actually, before he left, was on his normal bicycle, was hit
Oh.
by an e-bike. And, you know, basically the guy turned around and took off. You know, if he had a license plate, it might have been a whole different story. So I think we still, I mean, I would suggest that if we end up having a resolution, that calling for registration be part of it again. The second item is insurance. Anyone who is in an accident with an e-bike right now has no recourse to the kind of financial responsibility that the vehicle and traffic law, the state vehicle and traffic law requires. Registration comes hand in hand with financial responsibility requirements. So if the state were to enact a registration law, it would automatically entail, in order to get registered, as with a car, you have to show proof of insurance. And that, our original resolution, as far as the delivery drivers are concerned, in our original resolution, we added the requirement that insurance be provided by the delivery companies. There was concern that insurance is an expense. It turns out it's not a terribly expensive expense, but the consensus on the board was that it might be a burden on the delivery guys and that it was much more reasonable to put the burden of financial responsibility on these companies that use them. And certainly they have the resources both to afford it and to negotiate large packages with insurance companies. So the second thing is an insurance requirement. I think we should again ask for, and that it should be the responsibility of the delivery companies on it.
Mhm.
Also, City Bike, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, does not provide insurance for the people that use it if they get into an accident. They're vulnerable. Now, in my opinion, City Bike actually, my understanding is, we know that City Bike is owned by Lyft. And the City Bike operation, excuse me, is actually in a third subsidiary. But I would recommend that in addition to being registered, that that City Bike take the financial responsibility to provide insurance if any of their renters get into an accident.
Interesting.
But what we didn't address, what I didn't address the first time around, I think we need to address now, which is the issue of vicarious liability. New York State is a vicarious liability state. What that means is that under the state vehicle and traffic law, the owner of a motor vehicle is responsible for the actions of anyone operating that vehicle with their permission. It's, there are only a couple of other states that do it. I don't know, and any of you rent cars on a regular basis in Manhattan? I guarantee you've never seen one with a New York State license plate.
Oh, yeah. We're also in
Well,
another state.
I go by a couple of those rental places on 83rd Street.
That's true, usually Jersey plates or Florida plates.
Jersey, you see Florida, you see Connecticut, you see Tennessee.
And that's because they don't
I've
have the
seen-
vicarious.
That's because under New York law, the owner of the car, the rental car company is responsible.
They self-insure, sorry to interrupt you. but-
Well, that's okay. Self-insurance. That's why I use the term financial responsibility. Big corporations don't necessarily have to have outside insurance, but they have to basically provide evidence of financial responsibility to the state DOT. So the point is what it says, they're financially responsible. If there's an accident, they can be sued and they have the resources to cover it. So I think that should be a part of any resolution that we ultimately come up with. I want to answer Howard's question about why 15 miles an hour for e-bikes and not for cars. Part of the rationale is that cars don't generally ever go on the sidewalk. Cars generally stop for red lights. Cars don't go generally the wrong way on one-way streets. Cars don't engage in the kind of conduct that we've all seen e-bikes doing on a regular basis.
Unfortunately, 2 days ago in Brooklyn, that was not, or in the
Well,
village, that was not the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we see it every day with e-bikes.
It's true.
I was walking on Broadway the other day on the sidewalk, an e-bike cut right in front of me on the sidewalk and yelled, sorry, as it kept going.
Yeah, but I didn't mean to do that.
I don't know if he missed or if it was just a coincidence, but
If he
that's
said it's
part
hard,
of
I'll
the.
try harder next time.
So insurance, registration, more rigorous enforcement of traffic rules, and bicycles, even bicycles before e-bikes were always subject to traffic rules, and they still are. And vicarious liability are what I believe should be the elements to be considered for resolution. coming out of the committee. I have some more information on potential cost of registration, et cetera, if anybody's interested, but in general, they're not burdensome at all. Very reasonable to purchase e-bike insurance. And one interesting thing was, if you have homeowners insurance, which includes co-ops, condominiums, even renters insurance, most of those policies cover personal liability. So in most cases, you wouldn't have to purchase separate liability coverage. So be a fairly limited percentage of the population that would have to purchase it at all. And as I said, you can research it online. I just pulled up Geico and the cost of a full policy, including theft, damage to the e-bike, liability, everything, was approximately $200 a year. And registration, by the way, is based on weight and a 2-year registry. And you can go on the New York State DOT website and kind of get an estimate of what it costs to register a vehicle. And an e-bike would probably be in the range of $40, $50 for a 2-year registration based on weight.
All right, so you mentioned, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
Tick through the things you mentioned. You mentioned registration, licensing, insurance, for the delivery companies, the city bike folks, or the individual, depending on who owns the bike. And then vicarious liability, which we can come back to in a moment, and then there's the whole enforcement piece.
Yeah, and obviously with speed limits, we have speed cameras, which would actually have an effect if there was a way of identifying the bikes. And it's hard to imagine that we're against enforcing. I understand Ken's concern and Howard's concern about selective enforcement, I think it's the legal phrase. But I think we can deal with that. And I say, I'm not convinced, which is odd for some people to hear, that the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit is realistic. But that's something that I would leave to the experts to determine. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, do you wanna go around?
Well, if I have an answer to any questions, I'm glad to give it.
Okay, 3 questions. What happens so far with our calls for New York State? Like, have any of the elected officials said anything useful about they tried, they failed, they don't care, they do care, or anything useful? Or
Well, there have been bills floating
okay,
around. They passed the bill on registering mopeds.
okay,
I think our assemblywoman, I
Right.
think Linda was a co-sponsor of that with
right,
Brad Horn,
right.
Siegel. But frankly, Alex, we seem to constantly be met with this, I don't want to characterize it
Okay,
way.
let's go to the next question.
Characterizing it as an excuse, but I don't, look, I worked in the legislature for 16 years
Yeah.
in the assembly. And I have a pretty good feel for, and I worked my whole 16 years when the state senate was controlled by Republicans, and I
Joe
worked for
Bruno,
the
right?
Democrats.
Was it Joe Bruno?
It was Joe Bruno, it was Ralph Marino. When I started, it was Warren Anderson. And the political world was very different then. That was a world in which both sides, even though they may have disagreed on how to do it, seemed to always agree. And it was my job as counsel to get things done, not to fight and belittle and do all of the terrible things. But now the Democrats control the governorship, they control the assembly, and they control the state senate. So there's no political opposition to overcome. I'm frankly at a loss to understand why our elected representatives can't deal with this when it's such an important issue to their constituents. And another thing, it's somewhat technical. You don't have to worry on upstate versus downstate. While it's not constitutional to single out a particular location in a piece of legislation, it is constitutionally permissible to make that legislation applicable to cities of 1 million or more. So it's just a backdoor way of saying you can pass this kind of legislation and it essentially can apply it to New York City, or Buffalo is a city that has a pretty vigorous e-bike community.
Okay, last two
Let
questions.
me I jump in and answer the question specifically? So I'm happy to go on about the Democratic Party, but we'll save that for another day. There's also the lithium. So what they've done is lean into the lithium ion battery.
Yes,
And in an effort to satisfy the complaints about e-bikes, and it's also very important, of course. But there has been both in the city council and up in
Yes.
Albany legislation on lithium ion batteries, so let's not overlook what they've done. with
yeah, I
their
just
testing.
focused on the
I just,
operational stuff.
yeah, no, I know, yeah,
I
have,
just
and I
assume
didn't,
we know that.
yeah, I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
And then everything else and then the speed limits as we've discussed. And then everything else in both the city council and up in Albany has stalled. And all the kinds of things we're talking about have come up and have stalled. So I just want.
Alex,
Okay, just quickly, the two other ones. Is there any other places in the world / country where they have insurance or registration of e-bikes? And then secondly,
I think actually New
Wait.
Jersey
okay,
does.
and then secondly, who else should we invite next month to make it a good rigorous
Mhm.
debate?
Mhm.
Can't, like, I know we keep saying that delivery companies don't care, they won't respond, which is sad. But what about City Bike? Would someone from City Bike come or?
I don't know.
The
Yeah.
deliveristas came
Yeah.
once before
Okay.
to our
They
full
would,
board.
they would come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the
think,
deliveries to.
Howard,
come, I think the
correct me if I'm
companies
wrong,
might
but
not.
The companies
didn't
did not.
on
The companies will
occasion,
not.
on other items and this one, you try to get City Bike when you chaired the committee?
They never came.
They never came.
Never.
No.
They never came. Well, unfortunately, we don't have
And now it's
subpoena
Lyft.
power, which would be.
Yeah, they
nice.
weren't owned by Lyft at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Motive.
Well,
I think they even less likely to.
I
go.
mean,
agree.
I would say to the committee chairs and the board chair, if we can somehow figure out a way to get them here, it would be, I mean, if nothing else, it would be informative.
Right, and we had reached out to EBSA, EFSA. They
I would
obviously,
think they'll come.
they will come, I think, yeah, they will definitely come, but they, obviously, they're the ones who have been mobilizing a lot of the
Yeah, I mean,
advocacy around e-bikes.
I mean, this is
safety.
always a robust discussion.
Yes,
And I think we should have as many viewpoints in the discussion as we can muster.
On the insurance issue, not weighing in one way or the other, but just having looked it up. The UK, Germany, Switzerland, Australia have robust insurance markets for e-bikes.
You know,
Markets or
Markets and requirements in Germany, Switzerland, and Australia. The UK, it's unclear, but this is a very cursory search.
Sure.
And then then they list the various companies that
yeah,
that
that,
offer.
when we did this,
I'd have to take a deeper dive to,
Jamie, when we did the resolutions originally, I did some,
in 2021.
in 2021, there were at least 3 or 4 companies here that were writing e-bike insurance.
There's always a company happy to get into the insurance business.
Progressive, Bike Insure, State Farm.
Yeah, right, they all,
Interestingly, I think it seems to be done more at a state level than a city level, like certain states are I mean, again,
well, insurance,
yeah,
unlike other financial, insurance is very much state regulated. You know, that's why you have 50 insurance commissioners
Good.
throughout.
yeah, and not a city.
For what it's worth.
Unlike a lot of things
Yeah,
in the financial world that are federally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the states jealously guard their jurisdiction on it.
Could we go around?
Theoretically, it's possible.
Could we go around? I mean, one of the things that, just as we're thinking and going around the table. I know Jamie's raised it before, I've raised it, and I think for the board could be something, this is such a huge topic. I'm just wondering, like, to do it right and to do this topic justice and to form a resolution that we think is actually gonna do something. I'm wondering, like, it's gonna take a while. I mean, it'll take a few of us to put together something for next month, right, and to have it on the agenda. Doing it in a room like this versus doing like a larger venue, a larger stage, like something, I don't know how people feel about that. We want to just keep it to the committee, but I do think it is a type of topic that will not accomplish a lot unless we have certainly more stakeholders, no offense, Laura, but it's people, everyone, this room full, and perhaps like a lot of different constituencies there, and as we've all been saying, maybe not as elected official heavy, have them there, but I don't think the focus should be on what other legislators are doing. It should be on what we want to come up with as a community board and as a community, and then maybe present it to them. It's just a thought, just as
Well,
something.
maybe first we should decide whether we need to have a resolution. I mean, we're sort of assuming that, you know, Jay's got a good
That's fine,
point.
that's
and
fine. I'm just saying the
we should-
topic itself is, I think we can all agree. People in this community have identified e-bikes as a major issue in the neighborhood. Like it,
That
don't
doesn't,
like
that
it.
doesn't
sure.
mean it's a major issue. It just means they've identified it as a major issue.
Well, I disagree with that. I think when, well,
Give us some, it was gonna be one of my questions, but I'll wait till I.
At every town hall, every conversation I have on my block, I hear that as being an overwhelming.
And
Issue, and I-
15 years ago, it was about bikes, regular bikes.
But my point, Ken, is just that I think we have an obligation as a community board. We're doing it tonight by having Jay talk about this. Maybe nothing will come out of this discussion. I'm simply raising it as an issue that, in my experience, I have seen as something that people are clamoring for somebody to do something about it, and they don't feel their elected officials are doing it. And I think Jay has done, just like last month, we had somebody come about an issue that they cared about. I think it's just something that potentially we could do a good job of bringing a very neutral, community-based conversation and come out of it with something that might have some impact. So
if
that's all I wanted to
can,
say.
just,
Wait, Jay,
I just wanted to
just
add
briefly, so we
an
can hear from some
observation
others.
that I noted that I didn't, that I forgot to mention. Fairly recently, the DOT and the NYPD came out, did a study and came out with a 17-part plan on elderly pedestrian safety. 17-part plan.
Jay, DOT?
DOT, and it was a joint study by
Joint.
DOT and NYPD,
And what?
17 recommendations, not a word about e-bikes. Just making that known.
Interesting.
Maybe we should wonder why that was.
I know why.
Do you want to ask a question?
No, I think I would,
Or you were just chatting?
yeah, I think, no, I just think we're.
Jay,
we're
Jay,
going
do you
there.
want
I mean,
to take
you come up
Ken?
with
Do you want to go in the order?
No,
Jay?
you guys
Doug-
do.
Doug
Okay,
would
Doug,
share.
why don't we go around? Doug, you go. You go.
Pun intended, we're reinventing the wheel, but I do think it is a highly charged, highly publicized, highly discussed topic, and yes, at the police community council meetings, it's almost every single meeting, but
Mhm.
what I want to say is that I think it's self-evident. The reasons that, you mentioned that the legislature and the governor is controlled by the Democrats. I actually don't think that's actually the problem right now. I actually think if it was a more conservative legislature, these laws actually probably would be implemented, even though that's not my party of affiliation. But I would say that you always have to follow the money, and it's not a surprise that City Bike and Lyft won't come here. It's not a surprise that you're never really gonna get Amazon and Uber coming here. They are worth billions of dollars. They have the biggest lobbyists and attorneys that money can buy. And they are in every politician's ear. And that's the reason that what's happening here. And by the way, Los Deliveristas the great organization. I find that the people that have come here representing them are wonderful. We've supported them. I think we should continue to support them. And we don't want to, obviously, we've passed legislation and we're supported legislation to make sure that they're provided with bathrooms, et cetera.
Mhm.
And of course, we don't want to punish them. We don't want to hurt them, right? They're making a living. So, and they're independent contractors. And this is very, there are people at this table that know a lot more about this than I do, but it's always, everyone's pointing, right? So the big apps say, well, these are not our employees. These are independent contractors. We're not responsible for them. And of course, the independent contractors is saying, listen, I'm not the big, I'm just, they're doing all sorts of horrible things to them by cutting them off the system if they're not, they're incentivized for speed. In fact, I think it helps you actually signed up and did it yourself, right?
What was that?
Who-
No, that was
Oh, no,
Rich.
it was Ken, it was.
Rich.
Rich Robbins.
Rich Robbins,
Rich,
excuse me,
right.
I made a mistake. Rich Robbins actually did it. I actually was a delivery person back then. I mean, like, in the neighborhood when I was a teenager, but follow the money, that's what I'm trying to say. And, right now we have a very terrible thing going on, right, with our federal government and ICE. So we certainly don't want to set up our, delivery workers that may not, have a legal status and create a problem. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not very hopeful about any of this because there's really big money behind it and they're in every politician's ear.
Surely you're not suggesting that we don't make our voice known
I'm not.
on an issue that our constituents.
But
think is very
when you
important.
battle with
But,
Uber, which is
Doug,
around the globe.
I didn't interrupt,
Sorry, go ahead.
just because there's a lot of money behind the opposition. I'm sure you suggest.
No, we could be the Davy and Goliath. I'm just saying those wins we're going into headwinds with that. And I'm not saying it's not worth it.
That's okay,
But-
don't forget David won.
That's right. That's right. Okay, got it.
Laura, did you want to say
I-
something?
I
Just
do.
because she's a member of the public, we should let her speak.
I want to say, we all know this is a huge issue. This is a public safety issue of epic proportions. And while I can appreciate the idea of adding requirements like insurance and registration, I think that level of enforceability is daunting. But I do think 3 things we can do now: reduce speed, enforce the laws we have now, including stopping the bikes on the sidewalk, the bikes going the wrong way, the bikes on the pedestrian pathways on the 59th Street Bridge. Enforce the laws we have now, including the speed reduction, which is a really good place to start. And enforce cars parking in the bike lane, but we can really start by enforcing the rules we have now, and most importantly, bike infrastructure. We can't add these layers of requirements without recognizing this influx of e-bikes and the demand. The infrastructure hasn't kept up, which is why the bikes are, when there are trucks in the bike lane or double parked, you either go on the sidewalk or you go into traffic. So if you want to solve the problem, don't add more requirements and layers of bureaucracy that's unenforceable and has been rolled back in places that have tried it. We need to reduce speed, enforce existing laws, and improve bike infrastructure.
Thank you, Laura.
You bring up really great points, and actually, when I was at RPA, it was my little hobby project to research micromobility, and then it was 20 pages and 40 pages, there's so many topics, and I agree that this is something that our community cares about. Like, we had Laura's presentation and 70% of the people came to talk about e-bikes, so it's clearly something that we need to tackle. But I just wonder if, like, first we should, as a committee, really educate ourselves about it before we hold a forum like that. Like, for example, with the licensing and registration, there was a bill about it, and DOT, and Colleen will probably know this better than I can, but DOT said that it would be too expensive and inefficient to implement something like that. Colleen can describe more about that, but that's just like an example of, like, we should educate ourselves about, like, how realistic are these solutions first.
Registration is not a big deal.
Mhm.
First,
Okay.
it's done at the state level, it's done by dealers.
Mhm.
You go, if they did it, you go, you buy an e-bike, you put it on the computer, they give you a piece of paper and you're done. It's done with every other vehicle that's running on the streets. So, and as far as Colleen is concerned, city, it's not the city's function. Registrations for vehicles are done by the state. So
Yeah, and this is just something to educate ourselves on, so then we can have a more informed discussion, especially if we're expected to corral a bunch of different stakeholders, but I'm kind of wondering if, and I'm happy to take this on too, like I had a fellowship where I literally had to compile different micromobility legislation, so I wonder if maybe, and this is a discussion of the future, but if we wanna, you know, even Laura just mentioned, there's several different topics in this and have maybe 30 minutes each of our committee meetings talking about it and inviting a speaker to educate ourselves about it. I don't know, like, this is just a discussion for all of us.
you don't need my permission, you're gonna be.
Okay, well, we'll see, I want everyone on board, so, yeah. That's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a useful idea. I know we're going around the table. I just wanted to weigh in on something about, do you care if we go this way, Carrie? That was good for you. Just Laura, your point about enforcing cars in the bike lane and so forth. I agree with that. I mean, I know that's an important issue. I also just think that the infrastructure that needs changed. Bigger topic, agree with everyone that this probably won't be something we can do next month and have like come to, you know, some widespread agreement. But that to me in particular, when it comes to merchants and the propensity, the numerous merchants and restaurants and deliveries that are happening, the use of the infrastructure, to me, it's a matter of how people are using just the on-demand economy for things, for just every single thing. And people aren't going into restaurants as much. I don't know, Andrew, you have any data on this, but the number of people who are sitting in restaurants versus ordering from around their block, right? All this has changed even from the time that that Jay put this forward in 2021. I would like to see sort of how people's sort of behavioral habits have changed in our neighborhood, and how much they are depending on e-bikes for those deliveries, because then it comes back to like, does it come back to the restaurant or the app service or whatever? And how do we work with them? I think we could get them to work with us. I'm of the David mentality on this. But I think that customer behavior has changed so much in our neighborhood that we have to factor that into whatever we decide to come up with as a committee.
Andrew? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Nandita.
Yes, so you mentioned that you spoke to a couple of different stakeholders before to invite them to sessions, they didn't come. And you mentioned, I think, Amazon and DoorDash were the ones that you spoke about.
We've had, over the years, we've had sort of the government affairs representatives sort of come and give like, and a lot of the people are people who used to work for elected officials in our neighborhood who then went on to go work for the companies. So, so we have close ties with a lot of the companies. There's a lot of them will say, sure, we'll come and, but there's nothing that ever, you know, that ever changes. And it's very clear. You can look at sort of all the data that shows that there is a relationship. I mean, the elected officials are beholden in many cases, as Doug says, to lobbyists. They have a lot of money. They do have billions and billions of dollars. So they say they want to be good community neighbors. I think it'd be great to have more of them come to meetings. I'm just not sure, those of you who are in the tech world, like how we can get around sort of them talking and then actually doing something.
Yeah, I was curious which ones had actually shown up and like if there was certain, like you said, government affairs representatives were the ones that they sent over.
We used to have Fresh Direct come here a lot, and it was a sort of a round robin, right? Because they would set up and have a sort of their own little depot until the neighbors in that locality would complain a lot to the community board, to the city council members. So then we would say, hey, you know, you're parked on whatever it was, 85th in Amsterdam, and the squeaky wheels got the grease, and then the very polished, very nice, friendly representative from Fresh Direct would come. So sorry, we're gonna take care of it. We do believe in law. And, you know, and then they'll move it to another place until the complaint started, and then they would move them in.
Just
So they
like
were here too.
the Amazon trucks, they keep moving
Yeah.
where they're unloading.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Block to
Andrew,
block.
maybe you know, I mean, I don't know what we can do to try to get,
don't even know, honestly, I feel like we've been having this discussion for so long and like. At the end of the day, I don't know another resolution saying another thing unless there's the political will and like, listen. There's a lot of rules and a lot of different laws. I just don't think that there's candidly like. The heart or the stomach to crack down and enforce and stop. The behavior in a way that makes people think twice. I mean, all of Jay's ideas in theory, they sound really nice, but like. You know, you're gonna have a bogus license plate, you're gonna have one that the readers don't have. Most of the market is like an I don't know, underground market, but like they're trading bikes and they're selling bikes, so they're not gonna get captured at the point of sale. So like, I just think all of these things are like little Band-Aids, and unless there's like a concerted effort with penalties enough that deter behavior, it's just going to continue to be this way. And I don't know that any resolution we do, maybe we could think outside of the box. Maybe there's something instead of just doing a resolution that we can actually do as a community. I don't know what it is.
boycott.
Outside, not even a boycott, but like going out and doing educational things.
Yeah.
Like I've always thought like,
don't wanna
you know, where
boycott,
bike stuff, there was like, you know, cops or DOT or
Yeah.
people like at intersections actually like handing out, maybe it doesn't have to be hard
They did.
enforcement, handing out, but it needs to be like a consistent stop. I mean, every single day, you almost see somebody get creamed. And like, I'm sorry, but like the asshole that's flying down on on the city bike, like. He doesn't care, like a bright license or registration or a need to like insurance, like, you're just not gonna stop people. Like, there's tons of delivery workers that are super polite that I see them at intersections, they like wave to go, like, there's like good people that follow rules and there's other people that just like break them. And unless the people that just continually break it, there's some sort of real consequence, and I don't know what it is, it's a bicycle, it's not like a car, like. How do you?
Sorry, I mean.
Yeah, no, so I guess my point is like, I think there's good arguments and bad arguments on like every side of the issue. And maybe, I don't know what the idea is, but maybe there's something we can do as a community board outside of the box, other than
That's-
just a resolution.
That's why I was,
That we can like go do something, like
Yeah.
all the people that are concerned, maybe we have a whole team of people with T-shirts and it's
Yeah.
like the safe bike riding, you know, community members, and we go out on certain weekends, you build huge volunteers to go out and like, hey, please be careful in our neighborhood, do this. I think that may be more effective, we get tons of press. tons of
We get a lot of
attention,
press.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
something that's like, we're really trying to go out
You would
and actually
know what
talking to
we
people,
are.
like, hey, cause you know,
What
sometimes
we're
it's like
doing.
mentioning something, like it's a delivery worker, like, hey, you know, let them tell us, like, what's the issue? I don't know, I just.
So,
that's a good
so
idea.
let's add T-shirts. to the-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
Budget
you know if
item.
Nandita follows up before you go?
But sorry, the last thing I would say is like, just like we say we should go and, like, when there's a street fair, we should have it do tabling and
Yeah,
hand out
yeah,
information,
yeah.
like, I feel like maybe the best way is actually if people would volunteer, it doesn't just have to be community members, to like go out into the community in some sort of public facing campaign to
Like a
remind
flash
people
mob,
to be
a
safe.
flash
to-
mob.
You know, to kind
Central
of
Park.
raise the visibility. I mean, it's just something different that we haven't done, because I can guarantee any resolution we do is not going to change the political climate
Mhm,
of
mhm.
what.
Oh, I may as well not do resolutions at all.
Well, there
No,
are
certain
some things we
things-
do have an influence on. This doesn't seem to be one of them.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking if we can do something to address it, but in a different way that we haven't done before.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's-
Nandita,
Oh, yeah.
I like the
Just
idea.
On that.
Okay,
would the
and then
district
Nandita will
needs
come back to you.
statement Kind of be a way of influencing that,
I
like
missed the
doing
beginning of it, just
infrastructure.
It's in there.
I just should read the
It's-
statement,
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's in
infrastructure
there.
for like slowing e-bikes at dangerous intersections, could that be this like out of the
Maybe.
box?
Imagine,
Okay.
imagine if we had a team, if we had 100 volunteers. And 3 days a week, they went out to all different major intersections with shirts and flyers and posters. And you did this for like the next 2 months.
Do you have time for that, Andrew?
Well, I don't
Well,
know,
he's
I
thinking-
said,
he's
how
thinking
many,
outside the box.
how many
I like that
hours?
you're
I
thinking
mean, right
outside the
now, like,
box.
for example, like right now, we're in how many, you know, this
Instead
transfer
of it,
meeting
yeah.
for 3 hours, I can guarantee you could actually get
Good
in
luck.
front of a lot more
Good
people.
luck.
Well,
I think it would have a nice
I like
press
that,
effect.
I
I
like
think
that
it's
he's
a nice
thinking
idea.
outside the
Yeah.
box.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, can I
respond
to something?
Yeah, I mean.
Yes,
maybe-
and then,
Sorry,
and then
that-
Nandita, been trying to
Maybe
get
the
back.
Oh,
borough
sorry.
president, yeah.
You go first, and I
Yeah.
want to respond to something that Andrew said.
And then Ken's been trying to.
Yes.
And then,
I know, I see,
Yes.
I see you, man.
And then Carrie. Carrie.
I want to build on to
I've
that.
been, I have
So,
something to say too. Go ahead, Nancy.
we're talking about license registration. Like, I think we're talking about license, you're talking about literally licensing, like people with like.
No, we're talking about
Training.
registering the vehicle.
Okay,
You're not talking about driver's licenses.
okay.
It'd be
Um,
nice, but even I'll concede that's.
Right, but I think when you talk about registering the vehicle, it's like, oh, in the event of an accident, you can figure out who the vehicle belongs to and stuff. But they have like, and this is probably because I've been doing a lot of flying, whenever you fly, there's always like those 3-minute, 4-minute informational videos that talk about safety and airline safety. We can have a contest to see if people will come up with, because I think, going back to Ken's point from earlier, even regardless of whether or not e-bikes is an actual issue, I think like as a community, everyone perceives it to be an issue. So we can have a contest, where people come up with their own informational safety videos on like road safety for e-bikes. And it has to be like 4 minutes long tops, right? And you kind of make your own video. And then everyone has a contest, kind of vote on which video you like the most, and they kind of circulate that to companies and say, hey, if you have drivers, please share this video with them.
Mm.
And then that would be like a different way of going about it, as opposed to like them coming here and giving some spiel about how they're doing everything right. It's like us coming up with an
If they want to preserve the independent contractor relationship, they want to stay far away from any video like that. They are not going to want to give direction to their
Well, even if
bikers.
we can circulate it some other way, like I think.
Yeah.
having a-
Instagram.
Yeah.
That the people who
From
are
us,
trying, the
from
people who are
CB7.
impacted by the e-bikes are not the people using
Well, this is-
Instagram, a lot of them.
So-
I
I
do
feel like
like
everyone
that
uses
you're also
Instagram.
trying to think
Not
outside the
people who are in
box.
their
though.
seventies and eighties who are getting hit
So
by, not
Yeah, but
everyone.
this is for the
People who are
e-bike.
driving.
This is for the
People that are
e-bike.
driving.
We could put those metal
Yeah.
bars with spikes on all the bike lanes.
Like it's a Batman movie. Okay, Ken,
I mean, that
oh, I'm
would
sorry.
stop
Go-
this.
So
go
just
ahead,
actually, and it
Joe.
dovetails nicely with what Navita just said, which is that, you know, look, the NYPD, they had a program, I think it was, you know, more just showing face, where they would stop, community affairs officers would stop it and, you know, bikers, e-bikers in the bike lane and give them some information and some warnings also, but also some information about encouraging this to be safe. I think that Los Deliveristas, every time I've ever spoken to any of those memberships, they're very, I think they're very agreeable to talking about safety. They want everybody being safe. That's another, that would address a large number of people. And, you know, about how they're training their members and encouraging to be safe. I'd love everyone to have helmets for their own safety. I wish these companies would just donate and they would have tons of helmets and illumination at night. But, you know, but the informational thing is really important. Like when Revel scooters or mopeds were
Rebel.
banned, right?
I think
Remember?
I'm
about
And
I think they're gone.
yeah, they're gone. I had a membership because it was kind of fun and interesting, but they made you watch a video and certify that you watched the video. They also
Yeah.
get to take a picture of you wearing a
Yes,
helmet, but
you
then
did.
what would happen is people would take a picture of the helmet and then put the helmet back in the thing, and so they're gone. But yeah, I love the informational video stuff. You know, but I think if you want to get larger numbers of people, I mean, one of the parties that I think you should have are Los Deliveristas. See, like, how can we help them help us? You know, without hurting them, without punishing them, but
I
just
feel like
really.
it's the people also just that are like, ask, what about bike bumps? I mean, there's speed bumps. I know people hate that, but I don't understand why you can't have a bump
That's what I
in
was
each,
saying, yeah.
on every bike lane, at every
They
crossing.
kind of have that, those raised what are they
But
called?
something where
Thermoplastic.
you're gonna go flying off of if you fly over.
You have to be
That
at
sounds
every
safe.
intersection.
Well, why not? But you're safe, if you slow down, I mean, that's the thing,
But if
like,
you don't, you get hurt.
well.
The goal
that's
is to
I mean,
reduce
that's-
hurt,
Okay,
not
okay.
increase it.
That's a different resolution.
Yeah.
But I'm,
It's
but I'm
calling
saying
on
that
the
that like
DOT to
deters
DOT to
someone,
put in bike bumps.
but it's just like a car, if you go flying over.
You're not gonna get
something,
hurt.
well, you
Okay,
can go, yeah.
Ken,
Well, I wasn't gonna say this,
I
but
don't dislike bike bumps.
I just wanna point out that we've spent what now, an hour and a half talking about something that last year, e-bikes were responsible for 1% of the injuries in the city. Cars and
Reported.
trucks were responsible
Reported
for the
it.
data that we have. If you have other data, you can give it to us.
I don't have the data
Okay.
because
Jay, let Ken make
nobody
it.
can identify
Jay,
the perpetrator.
Jay, let Ken
Well,
make his point.
Anyway,
Please.
I hope
I've
we,
heard it so many times.
I know you have, as have I, but he has
That's
a
what I'm
right
saying,
to
usually
make it.
outside of the box, and we haven't done. just having
Let
the
him
same
make his
conversation.
point and then we will
I
move on
hope,
to.
I just hope we devote comparable time and energy and thought to, the other 99%. But, you know, I think we need to strike a balance with e-bikes because we don't want to discourage people from using a safer and more environmentally sound form of transportation. But at the same time, we want our streets to be safe. So we don't want to throw roadblocks, no pun intended, in the path of people who want to choose to use, you know, an e-bike rather than drive a car or something. And you know what? I have noticed incredible improvements in compliance, especially among the delivery workers, in the last few months. Now it's the, I'd say it's the norm to see delivery workers waiting at a red light. And the deviation just to see somebody actually racing through a red light. And I don't know, you know, why that is, but you've gotten, I mean, we had these resolutions, you know, 4 years ago. You've gotten a lot of what you want. You've gotten a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. There's a bill in the city council to ban class 3 e-bikes. And e-bikers and all cyclists are now subject to criminal summonses on the street, which may be partially responsible for the increased compliance. So, you know, this board is really loath to, you know, to issue new resolutions when they've already issued a resolution, in this case, 2 resolutions. So, you know, everything that you've talked about was in your original resolution. So what's the need? And also give us the.
Because everything that was in the original resolution hasn't happened.
Well,
And if we're so
we have a lot of.
if we're so effective by issuing resolutions, why should we stop?
We have a long list of DOT, which is actually our agency
And
of
it's
things that
just
we've
gonna
asked
get
for.
longer.
Yeah, so, you know, maybe we should do another resolution on loading zones.
Maybe.
You
Maybe we should just, that would
Redo everything.
happy.
Sophia raised a really good point. There's a reason why things are the way they are, and we should really understand why they are the way they are before we try to meddle with them. $200 a year insurance, maybe it exists. I really think before we decide they should go out and get $200 a year insurance, we should make sure that that in fact does exist and we know what we're talking.
It existed as of this afternoon.
I don't know the details. I think it's worth, again, before we do a resolution, we should be pretty sure about what we're talking about. It shouldn't be based on some anecdote, or we should have some kind of definitive information before we make decisions on these issues. In terms of data, yes, the 98, 99% data regarding vehicles and not bikes causing injuries, maybe it's not 98%, maybe it's 97%, but there's excellent data on deaths. Every death is carefully analyzed, and it's about 97, 98% of deaths are caused by vehicles. So I'm assuming it has to be somewhat similar for injuries, because that's something that is definitely known. And if there is a great need for safety, I'm on the street all the time, usually not in my car, usually walking, sometimes on a bike, and there is a problem with safety. But to the extent we take out one thing and don't consider all the other things that are making the streets unsafe, I think most people who get hurt on the street don't really care what's going to hurt them. They just don't want to be hurt. I think that's what it comes down to. And so we have to take a holistic approach. There's a reason why bikes are on the sidewalk. Exactly what you said. I can't imagine a biker saying, oh, I'm going to avoid this nice, safe, dedicated bike lane to weave through pedestrians on the sidewalk. The reason why they're doing that is because the bike lane's blocked or there is no bike lane. So we have to look at it in a holistic way to make the streets safe. If we only consider one thing, something that causes 1, 2, 3, 4% of the injuries, we're never going to make the streets any safer.
Can we maybe not always compare bike safety and car safety? Like car safety, or the dangers posed by cars, I should say, is a real threat and it's a real problem. And I think we do, when we talk about the different turns, and we should do more to address that. But I think we shouldn't also use that to negate the real concerns that people have
But
about
that's
bikes.
exactly the opposite of what I'm saying. You have to look at the street as a whole. You have to keep people safe. Whatever's hitting them, you have to stop them from being hit. People really don't, if I'm going to be mowed down on the street, well, frankly, I'd rather be mowed down by a city bike than by an SUV. But the point is that people don't want to be hurt. That's the
I
guiding
think the problem
principle.
is that the vast majority of cars statistically stop at lights. You have these horrible situations, whereas.
Then why are the number of people being killed and injured so much greater?
Because it's a car, it's a
Being
car.
killed, being
You-
killed. We don't know about
There
injury.
are so many.
It's about
more-
98% of
I think
injuries.
if you were gonna go survey, 1,000 people on the Upper West Side about what their biggest concerns are in the neighborhood and or getting around the neighborhood, they will say bikes, not a car.
They
That
will
is what I
say
was getting
e-bike.
at. That is
They
what I
will
was
say,
getting, yeah.
yeah, what do they?
That is exactly what I was getting
Is
I
that
think we
just-
can do that survey,
But I'm just-
can't we?
Well,
Data is our friend.
So I don't know, I would just say, and I leave it to co-chairs and future co-chairs and stuff, is just going back to the ideas, like, we are a community board, we're a community. Maybe we can do something where we go out and survey people, or like, I feel like people in the community, they wanna engage with the board. I think, Elizabeth, you bring this up a lot too, and both of you, like, what can we do to engage the community and do something other than just having this same debate back and forth over?
Actually, I'm agreeing with you. I think we should get a sense of what people think, but the goal should be to make them safer, not feel safer, not feel like we did something, but to actually do something. The goal is to reduce injuries, not to reduce people's complaints,
But
really.
feeling safe is also, if you're an elderly person, or
Howard,
you're a parent. pushing a
if you
stroller-
want to offer some suggestions.
I don't have the
on how to-
answers.
On how to make trucks and cars and motorcycles.
Oh, I did, when I,
Safer.
wait,
and
I just
bring
want to
it
respond to
forward.
this.
You may
I
respond.
I
you may
called for
respond.
loading
It's not a
zones.
debate,
I
but
called
you may
for
respond.
Daylighting,
He
we called for
invoked my
all
name.
of these things, and the DOT has not followed through on them. Yes, we've definitely called for them, and they've paid about as much attention as to those resolutions as the state legislature is likely to pay to a resolution calling for whatever with regard to e-bikes.
Okay, so this has been a debate that actually predates my time, not only as co-chair, but on this committee.
And will continue way
Let-
past your
Yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah.
And I'm happy to say it will continue after I step down tonight. But Carrie, I think, has something he wants to add to the conversation.
And much of it has already been said. I'm a firm believer in the Mark Diller rule that when you pass a resolution, you don't reopen it and try to re-speak on the issue. Since passing our resolution in favor of registration, insurance requirements, we've passed resolutions talking about daylighting, protected bike lanes, all sorts of things, and I don't think we should reopen those. When we have a debate about the merits of licensing and registration, community board's position is already clear. We're in favor of it. We voted, it passed, done. So I think it's partly, are there new ideas that are out there where we can have an impact, where we can contribute, or we can bring stakeholders together to try to generate new ideas. One of the things that I think is out there that the city is already doing, separate and apart from us reiterating how important it is. There are commercial cyclist rules that I think that have been published and have already had a public comment period that are still pending. They would do things like requiring more than just the reflective vest, but I think unique identifier numbers. And you can take a further step depending on how far you want to go with this. There's the program, I think it's the Citizens Air Complaint Program, which is something like the False Claims Act. It incentivizes people, if you see a truck that's idling and you record it and you record enough to actually perfect a complaint, and the city finds somebody. you get a
Guys,
third.
those 3 guys are millionaires.
Those 3 guys are millionaires. But if you had that for the commercial delivery rider who's going the wrong way, up Amsterdam or Columbus, that might give people the sense of not just, feeling they can do something. That might actually be, hey, let's change the culture, not just by tabling at the street fairs where it would be great if, people showed up, but actually generating a sense of, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna get hit by a fine, and we're gonna incentivize all of the people who are terrified of you to work together to make our streets safer. So that's a more out there proposal, but I think the top line is, if we're going to look at this, we have to say something new. We've already spoken to it. It's still a major issue, but it really should just be focused on new ideas.
Agreed.
That's another idea, though.
Harry,
It
up
requires,
Amsterdam is fine, up Columbus is not.
that's another idea that
I have a
requires,
very
I
good-
think,
Can I respond?
Yes.
identification
The city's proposing
is,
that.
is really the base
Right, and
for almost all of these.
And for the city proposal, everybody would have to wear a unique number, large print, so that you would know exactly who it is. So it's basically a wear your own license number. It comes from the city, not from the state. It would apply to commercial deliveries.
Actually, I think Gail introduced the bill for city identification numbers.
So the commercial bikes all have to have, they all have to have numbers, they all have to be recorded. There's two different distinctions. One's if we're independent contractor for third-party delivery, and the other is if they are employed directly by the restaurant or directly by the business. They just updated some of the rules and regulations for the third-party deliveries, and I think it's in the rulemaking period right now, so you can actually comment. The ones that are for employees of the business, those were updated a few years ago, but they require, the helmets, the reflection, the bikes have to have an identifier, the driver has to have an identifier, it needs to be recorded. So I think a lot of it also just goes back to,
That goes back to
Yeah.
bike messenger days,
yeah, and
That-
enforcement, yeah.
that law.
Yeah. Bike lesson.
I remember those days.
Yeah, when.
And those-
BCI, we used to ask about whether they're using third party or their own, and sometimes they would show the reflective vest and their identifiers.
Mhm,
That was a regular practice that we had at BCI, which eventually sort of went by the wayside, but
mhm.
I just wanted to say, first of all, that, absolutely fact-based that heavy motor vehicles kill people more than lighter bikes. That's absolutely so stipulated.
When they
But you know what
encounter,
else
when
kills
they
people?
encounter the
And
individual.
the long play is stress. And people are stressed. I know that this is, walking lawfully across a street, which by the way, now there's no jaywalking law. But walking across, you have to look both ways, even if you're in a one-way street. And because I'm afraid of getting creamed by anyone riding, but mostly I'm afraid that it's going to be someone on two wheels and not four. And so I'm just saying that, stress really kills it. And I think we've already heard, I don't think we have to have a poll and say, what is most important to you? Because that should be so stipulated that it's at every meeting and every elected official says it's something that they've heard about. That's already a topic, whether it's perceived or reality. But I really do believe that the perception is a problem. People are scared. It raises people's blood pressure, and there should be ways that I would love, I think it's a waste of time, but I would do, if you really would want to see what the behavior is like on the street, I would invite our committee to go out on the street and especially around delivery time, the peak delivery time, and stand by a bike lane and see the behavior. Just
Stand in
stand
the
there,
bike lane.
stand
Yeah.
near, well, don't block the thing.
Just
But
stand
stand
in
and
it.
just look at the behavior and look at the people going different ways and whether they're yielding. I think it'll.
Maybe we need like,
Yeah,
guardian
yeah.
aid, but
Well,
you have like the
I mean,
guardian
to
aid.
me, it's gonna be catching.
Of the bike
like,
rider
pushing a
race.
hole. It's obvious, it happens
Look,
all the
look.
time,
Okay,
every
okay.
night, every day.
We can borrow Curtis.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Okay, so I think we're gonna try to close out this conversation, and I know we don't have an answer, but I'm glad, Jay, for bringing this forward. So I've heard a lot tonight, just really quickly, that it seems like we're in agreement that we don't want resolutions to be rehashed. I agree with you, Carrie. We also, I think, generally agree that our resolutions don't get listened to a lot, we try, but they don't often get listened to a lot. That said, this is an important issue that we can debate the merits of whether we should whether we do a resolution or move forward on a topic based on the number of deaths or the number of, the stress that it's causing. My thought was just, again, a little bit of Andrew, a little bit of what a few people have said tonight. Why not have this committee move away from doing maybe a resolution on this and toward doing something where we collect some data, we go out in the streets, we do a few community meetings, we get publicity, we do something that combines all of this, where we are separate and apart from what is happening in government and in politics and with lobbyists. We bring some of those people together when it's appropriate. And we do like, whether it's a quarterly meeting, I think it would be more impactful to not do it necessarily as part of in this format, but do it outside of this office somewhere out in the community. And we stake our claim and we get the data, we hear from people, we find out if in fact e-bikes, to what extent are they really a scourge? How are they impacting? How is consumer behavior being driven by all of this? All the things we've been talking about. Do that, and I think that will have an impact in the neighborhood. I think people will look to us and we want people to look to Community Board 7 as a way to like be able to have a measurable impact on this topic. And that's just my suggestion coming out of this as maybe a way that the new co-chairs can move forward, taking what Jay has already done, which I think is very admirable that he has put forward a lot of time on this issue. He cares about it in the same way we've had other people come to us on this committee with issues that they care about. And I don't think we should discourage that. I think we should keep it up as a committee to have people bring their ideas, and hopefully we can.
I would just ask, you know, when we've had things like that, there's been a huge clamoring for it from the public. You know, like Car Free Central Park, or, you know, stuff on the bike lanes that we've had come before us. And where's the clamor? Where's the community?
I can share
Calling
some
for
of the,
this.
I can share some of the emails, like I got access to the
Yeah,
CB
you know,
email. But anyway, I think it's,
Also, I think
it's a
the
nice point.
complaints are lagging the actual behavior.
Yeah.
Cause I think, as I say, compliance is
Well,
getting
that, it would
better.
be interesting to, yeah, it'd be cool to see in 301, do we see like complaints decay or something? Cause I personally, I feel, I also agree with you, but I'm not sure if that's just like, yeah, I'm fine right or not, but I agree.
Everyone, that's the most, everybody's, I mean, everybody is freaked out
Yeah.
about bikes. I hear it everywhere I
can't-
go. It's like my
yeah.
you know, everybody is constantly freaked out. And it doesn't
And it's
mean we
also
shouldn't
not
have
something that
bikes,
just
like
because
they're
it's
great,
not
but.
like on our district, it's like, it's something that people are like, they're talking about it, and just because they're not here in this room doesn't mean that it's
They
not.
don't
an
call
important
three,
issue.
or they don't call
Yeah.
311, they just like, you know.
We had a full board meeting last week. This is a Monday night meeting, not a Tuesday night. We didn't widely, you know, we didn't have the agenda. The agenda was last week. You know, this was a topic, it's a topic that people are caring about. We didn't have a resolution on the table for this.
You,
This was,
you don't think behavior's improving?
this was the first discussion
street?
I
tonight.
do think,
I do.
I do
I
think
think-
behaviors
Yes,
improve.
I think
Behaviors
especially
improve.
among.
So this may end up being a non-issue.
I really do, I wanna.
Well,
But that's
just
why I
remember-
think it's important to have the
I
conversation.
do think among the delivery workers, I've seen a real.
Yeah,
we're like,
classic
"Okay."
example of
And by the way,
denial.
someone blows past me in a red
To
light, I
think
yell red
that
light.
it's just gonna go away.
Let's go.
And that it's not an issue.
I just say red light.
It's the issue everybody hears about the most.
I think even if it's something that's like, maybe it's like, to your point, it's not as severe as people make it out to be. I think it's a good way to get public confidence by addressing it and acknowledging it and then being able to do something about it. It's a way to get buy-in for any future projects as well.
I think the city we can go hang out at the city bike dock. Hey, just remember, there's people in the
I like the
community that are
guardian
paying
angels idea.
attention, you know?
Well, I am somebody, I'm probably the only person here who had a head-on collision with an electric city bike.
And
About a month ago, so, and I'm very lucky to have lived to tell the tale. But, so, yeah, I know that.
You know
If
how
we're,
in the
if
back
we're
of
in
trucks-
SUV, you might not be here
No, I
though.
would not be here.
You know, in the back of trucks where it says, how's my driving?
Uh-huh.
I think every biker should have their personal cell number. How's my driving? Just call them. Terrible, that was terrible. Or, that was a wonderful right turn you just made there.
Yeah.
What do you think, Andrew?
What's next?
I think we're gonna have Andrew give a
Oh,
brief.
great.
Yeah. Who's next? Not to give him short because there's always a lot.
No,
going on.
that's okay. There's a lot to report and it's all good pretty much. So that's,
does it affect our district?
some of it does.
How about focusing on what affects our district?
Okay, Demetrius Critchlow, the president of New York
Yeah.
City Transit, recently had his 1-year anniversary and
Wow.
he has a lot of good things to report. 85% on-time performance, which is amazing. There are barriers to protect people from falling or being pushed onto the tracks at over 100 stations now, and that is growing. Growing fast. They're putting them a whole lot more on.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, I have a question about
Okay.
them too. You go ahead, Tiff.
Do you want to, let's ask it as I get to that topic.
Okay,
So, yeah, go
okay.
ahead.
I was curious what the cost of those,
I
the
was
entire
too.
project
Yeah.
is for the barriers.
It's changing by the month as we add more and more, but it's all paid for through the MTA's capital program, and congestion pricing is helping to pay for a lot of them as well.
But per station, when they do have those barriers there,
It
how much
depends on the station,
estimation?
because
Okay.
some, like, if you look at 86th Street on the one, it's not the entire both platforms.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah,
sections without it.
it's like that.
Yeah, and it can only be done in stations that have uniform equipment types, otherwise the doors won't line up correctly.
But there's still
Can
a
I-
lot of space.
There's a
There's a
lot
lot
of
of
space.
space.
I don't see
Yeah.
how
Can
it
I-
works.
Can I ask you, I don't understand, I don't understand them, because my sense is
Concerned, you
like,
stand by the wall.
there's so many stations in so
Then
many
you don't even need
areas
the
that
barrier.
don't have them, so if someone wanted to push someone, like. They seem to be one of those things where like, they're spending an enormous amount of money to like give people a perception of safety, but like.
There's an irony, you were just talking about e-bikes being, it's all
Yeah.
perception, and it's the
Well,
same thing here.
Not only that, it just gets in the way. I can't
No,
get
that's
it.
the
Good point, let me make a point.
No, it's not a perception. People actually feel safer. with-
No, I know, feels,
But
but
are
I'm
they
saying, like,
safer?
are they
Safer.
reducing?
You can't just be shoved onto the tracks if you're in front of one of those things.
If
But
you're
you could be- but
concerned,
what
you
if
could
you're-
stand by the barrier. If you're not concerned,
No, but I'm saying
If
this
you're
is
being
costing
leaned
millions
over
and
to
millions
somebody's
of dollars
face.
versus
A real New
like
York
people
police.
feeling safe walking out of their apartments, like they're very
To
different
respond
issues.
to another question, and you're gonna hear it later in the report, equipment types are being sort of changed, and that will make the ability to place these more readily on stations, because there will be similar equipment types. There are some lines that have 3 or 4 different kinds of cars coming through. That is going to change as those car types get retired. Unfortunately, the R68s and the R68As, which is the last of the conversational seating, which I happen to love and a lot of
Me
people
too.
do, is going to be gone in 3 years or
I'm
so.
bringing my chair. Okay, I just want to ask a question
Sure.
about the barriers.
Sure.
You never know what's gonna be the controversial topic.
Yep.
So
I never would have thought it was
where
this.
does the funding for the barriers come from? Who's
Funding, did
paying?
you say?
Yes, who's paying for
It's
the
part
barriers?
of the MTA's capital
It's
program,
that's it, capital program, okay.
and
so-
congestion
so-
pricing is helping to pay for a
So
lot of that.
I know you're a great defender of the MTA and I love that about you. I
Mm-hmm.
just wanna say for the record, I wish they'd spent that money on something else. The subway is falling apart. I know they're doing a great job. They're building it back up. But I would rather they had spent the money on those barriers on something else. You can stand up against the wall if you're afraid.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we
There were a
don't.
bunch of issues that where people were actually killed or falling in or committing suicide or all kinds of things, and they thought
well,
it
you
was
could
time.
still commit suicide with the barrier.
Yeah, just take a step to the right. And you can.
You're gonna commit suicide walking 2
Fall
feet
in,
out of
you
the
can
way.
fall in.
Lots
Look,
of ways to commit
I'm
suicide.
not saying it's not a concern, and listen, all of us who grew up in New York, you have the recurring nightmare of falling into the subway. That's part of growing up in New York, so I'm not saying it's not a concern. I'm just saying with all the things we have to worry about with the infrastructure of the subway. And I like Demetrius Critchlow, that is not where I would have put my money on these barriers that it's not where I would have put my money.
Okay,
That's all I'm saying.
You
For
made
the
your point,
record, I just
Jamie.
wanted to make my
you
record.
made your point.
And I
I
think
think
there's
this
some
is-
people around the table who agree with you.
I think this is the first time I've ever agreed with Howard.
Wow.
But if you want to commit suicide, you can move over a little bit. Move the barrier.
Or overdose on something, hello?
Yeah,
And
people
then you
do
don't
fall
tie up
in,
people's
remember the
arms.
subway, the subway hero?
This is the suicide part, this
They
is the
could jump
homicide
in and
part.
save that man.
You wanna commit suicide, do it at home.
Okay, next, what's next?
Okay,
Go
sure.
ahead.
94% of accessorized pickups are occurring within 20 minutes of their reservations, which is a new
Well,
record.
now we've got some good
That's
news.
good.
That's really wonderful news. And CBTC, Communications-Based Train Control, will be coming to the A division, which is the numbered lines. The Lexington line is likely to be the first to get it. R262 cars are being ordered, which come pre-equipped with CBTC. And the Lexington line will be the first ones to get that, so
And needs it the most.
that's why it'll be the first line
More
to
trade.
get it. Yeah, it means more trains, more closer together
Yeah.
safely. That's what CBTC allows you to do.
Right, right.
15 more customer service centers are gonna be opening soon. That's where you can take issue with, if you're having an issue with your Omni card, if you want to convert from MetroCard to Omni, you can do it at the customer service centers. There's several opening on the west side. There'll be one at 59 Columbus Circle. There'll be one at 96th and Broadway. So they're coming all over the city, which is really great. And they're open 24 hours, which is another great thing.
Would they hear complaints about e-bikes?
No.
Will they have complaints about barriers?
There's a lot of e-bikes on the subway, though. I see them, people, I say to them, if e-bikes are so great, why are you taking it on the subway? Why don't you just drive, you know? Anyway, a very important change is happening December 8th, the F and M swap. I don't know if you've all heard about that, but this will be Monday to Friday only. The F will be restoring, going back to the 53rd Street tunnel between Queens and Manhattan, and the M will be using the 63rd Street tunnel. This is because there is a real problem maneuvering how they switch. The M and the R are on local tracks on Queens Boulevard.
Right.
And the E and the F are on the express tracks, and they have to do a crossover just east of Queens Plaza. And it has delayed trains endlessly, so they will be swapping those, which will allow folks to get to like the Queens Center Mall easily from Queensbridge houses in Long Island City without a change of trains and all of that, and it will stop this gap, and you should see. But it will be Monday to Friday only, so on weekends, the M will restore it back to the 63rd Street tunnel, and the F will be back. The M will be back on the 53rd Street tunnel, and the F will be back on the 63rd Street tunnel on weekends.
And everybody's gone to the Queen's Center. Raise your hand.
MTA will be implementing as soon as we are retiring MetroCard and everything is Omni, proof of payment. When they do that, you will probably have all door boarding on buses, which will considerably speed up bus travel. So that is great. They have saved $600 million in the capital program by combining various projects. And with that savings, they're going to be making 3 more stations accessible. Fort Hamilton Parkway on the D line, which is the West End line, Morrison and Soundview Avenue on the 6th line in the Bronx, and 2nd Avenue on the F in the East Village. So
Hopefully that won't eat up the whole 600 million.
no,
Okay.
they're saving a lot of money on various projects, and they have
That's good.
congestion pricing is making lots more stations accessible.
Good.
And
Great.
you're gonna see so many. Right now, there's about 160 of accessible out of 472. That is not a great average. You're gonna see over half made in the next 2 years, which is really important. And that's great. Now, a piece of not so great news. The Penn Access Project, which was going to be bringing the New Haven line of Metro North into Penn Station via Amtrak's Hellgate Bridge, is delayed possibly 3 years from 2027 to 2030 because Amtrak has not provided enough track access specifically for the Leggett interlocking in the South Bronx, which needs to be changed and converted to allow these trains to progress. And they haven't been giving the manpower that is necessary to do these outages either. There is a lot of conflict between Amtrak and the MTA right now, even though Andy Byford is in charge of the transformation of Penn Station, and we all love Andy Byford.
Yeah.
But there are some issues. It's possible if they do temporary stations at Co-op City, Parkchester Van Nest, and Morris Park, not Hunts Point. They do not have room for a temporary station there, but that is already served by the number 6 line, so it's not so important. But if they can do temporary platforms at these 3 stations, they could possibly start the service in 2027. Amtrak hopes to help them do that so they don't get blamed for all of this major delay. So we'll see how that pans out. There is $386 million allocated for new cleaner vehicles that are going to be going through the tunnels and will not pollute the tunnels. So the tunnel air should be made a lot cleaner with these new vehicles. It's not diesel, it's hybrid electric and battery, and it's going to be much cleaner. And we'd love to see that. Speed cameras are going to start being installed in work zones on MTA bridges and tunnels because people have been speeding through work zones, and it is very dangerous. So they're gonna grab your license plate if you haven't.
If you have one.
Or if you covered it up or whatever. And
Or if you go across on an e-bike.
yeah, or you're gonna get it. There's also a big tinted window crackdown.
Hmm.
A lot of people have been doing illegal things with
Yeah,
tinted
yeah.
windows, and it's not just on MTA bridges, it's in the streets as well.
Yeah.
So that, there's a big crackdown on those. Number 7, train repairs, which have been going on at 61st Street, 69th Street and 52nd Street stations are delayed 2 years because of increased deterioration at the 61st Street Woodside Station on the number 7 line, which is not good. There are over 3 billion taps with Omni already, which is very good. It's well exceeded the estimate that it was gonna have. 86% of users of the subway are now tapping with Omni rather than the Metro card. If you're still using a Metro card, you can probably feel that some of those Metro card turnstiles are a little dangerous for your card. It might scratch your electric stripe, your electronic stripe, your magnetic stripe, I should say. And they have to pay people to clean those. So once we get rid of Omni at the end of the year, get rid of MetroCard at the end of the year, it's gonna be really great. They won't have to pay people to clean those, which is ridiculous. So that's good. Resorts World with the casinos that they're planning to put up, and I think 3 of them have already been approved, are dedicating, I should say, $2.5 billion to the MTA's capital plans from casino revenue. That is great news. Between the state fully funding the 25 to 29 capital program, the state giving us congestion pricing, and this money from casinos, we are in much better shape than any other transit system in the country. And you saw what almost happened in Philly. Fortunately, the governor saved them from massive service cuts and massive fare hikes. But Metra and Pace in Chicago are facing those same things, and several systems in California. The states are not realizing that their transit systems are the economic engines that move the states, the regions, the whole area. But New York State realizes that, and we are fortunate with that. October saw record low in subway crime. This is much lower than even pre-COVID. So having people stationed in various places, having police officers, having gate guards, and we have brand new turnstiles coming around the end of the year that seem to be doing a really good job in other cities that have them. I saw them in Philly and they seem to be working there.
There's ones that go like this.
They're all, yes, they're cover the whole thing, unless you want to get down on your hands and knees and crawl under it, you can't get through it. And it knows when one person has passed through. I remember when it was, several of us tried to go through together, you can't do it, so. That's coming, and
Are they gonna replace these ones with the half moon pieces of?
Yes,
metal?
yes.
So why they bother to spend all
That was a
money?
temporary measure. That was a temporary measure.
How much did that cost?
I don't have it.
Whatever the state they want.
But I know the new turnstiles will cost around $1 billion per fare control area. So that means several turnstiles all at once. When you consider we have 472 stations and probably 1,000, you can do the math, but we're losing almost $100 billion a year to fare evasion, so.
No, it's 1 billion a year. to
Nine
renovation.
hundred plus million, I think.
Yeah, exactly, almost $1 billion a year. Yeah.
Snag anybody on those?
Excellent.
Well, that's part
Now,
of,
here's something that will affect our neighborhood. There are new R268 model cars coming to the C line. That means C trains will be shorter. When I was told about this, I said, we don't want the G train shuffle like you had with
Oh,
those
my
really
gosh,
short G
right,
trains.
right.
Apparently, these cars are somewhat longer, so the fact that the trains will have fewer cars won't mean a great
aren't
difference.
the old C trains already a little shorter?
The
Like,
old
when they
C
pull
trains
in
aren't in
relative to
effect
the-
anymore,
Right, but weren't they somewhat short,
but we have a lot of cars on
right,
those.
right.
We don't want people, we have long platforms, we don't want people to have to run and fall or
this
trip.
is
Well,
or
I
the
saw
slip.
at Columbus Circle that the B trains were always long, the B trains were longer,
Yeah.
right? And-
Yeah, the B trains have the wonderful R68 cars, but now they already have the R211s.
With conversational seating.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, 211s don't have it. The R68s and 68As
Forcing
have
to be
it.
social.
So
We
relevant
have
to
all
us,
179s on the C as well.
is the C train getting smaller and the service not increasing so that there's more?
Service
riders?
has been increased on the C train already, and A and L trains are just about to get increases in service on weekdays.
So
they
the
are
C in
definitely
particular, which a
increasing
lot of
service
Upper
in
West
various
Siders.
places.
Wait, Andrew, a lot of Upper West Siders really rely on the C train, so it's going to be the same service we have now, just small, just
They've
fewer
made the
cars.
service more frequent on the C train,
Okay.
actually.
Okay, good.
Go smaller.
You won't, the cars might be shorter, but, I mean, the trains might be short, they'll, how can I, those cars, those new models are shorter, but the trains, they can put more cars on, in 2-car shifts, you can do that, so they can make sure that you're not running for it. It'll still take up most of the platform, if that makes sense.
Okay, I was just wondering about crowding. If they are the same number of trains, but the trains have fewer cars, there's gonna be more crowding, that's all.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and there's more standing room in them,
Oh, so.
less
more room
seating
to
and
stand.
more standing
Okay.
room, more room for people that need
Right,
special
right.
seats, wheelchair seating and all of that
Mhm.
on those cars. And the last thing I will tell you is, because of the work going on in the East River tunnels and Amtrak's service cuts to the service to Albany and upstate New York, Metro North has gotten approval from the governor and the state to provide service to Albany. They will be extending their Hudson line to 3 additional stations, north of Poughkeepsie, Rhine Cliff, Hudson, and Albany, Rensselaer.
Oh, wow.
And Metro North allows dogs, just so you know.
And Metro North's fares are
Amtrak
cheaper,
doesn't.
but they're only talking about one round trip at the moment, which will
That's a
start in
big deal.
2026.
It's huge,
That's a big
yeah.
deal.
Save the
And
best for
Amtrak
last.
will be restoring one of its
She's
trains
referring to
on
my
December
dog. You ever see
1st.
him?
So they will have a little bit more service,
He's a
and
terror.
Amtrak has agreed to put a cap,
Yeah,
on their fares, because they know that they have this kind of fares where if you have fewer seats, because there's fewer trains, you're gonna pay higher rates. So they've agreed to lower those rates as well. So service to Albany is gonna change a little and get a little cheaper.
Doug, and then.
So something we've talked about before, just want to follow up on 2 things, ACE cameras and Eagle teams. First of all, on the ACE cam, I asked Demetrius this question directly. I take a lot of the dedicated, the select service buses on M57. And I think I sent you a video of the lack of enforcement, even though the ACE cameras are taking pictures, but the cars are back to back to back to back. So I just still don't understand physically how they could take a picture of one car on the back of the 30 cars that are parked and maybe one in the rear. So I don't know how they're doing it, but it is, I counted 37 cars that were parked in the dedicated bike lane on the M57.
Bus
Oh my
lane, you mean.
gosh.
I'm sorry, bus lane, I'm sorry. we're talking-
Okay.
So that's one question on how the implementation of that is going.
I asked that question, Doug, and it's a wide angle camera and it can take more than one license plate's picture.
Yeah, but if a car is, if you have a car, let's say you have 3 cars, you're not gonna get the middle car.
But if the bus is stuck behind that and needs to get to a middle lane to proceed, it will get those license plates.
I hope so, but I don't know. But
Yeah, they are.
but the other question on is Eagle teams, which might end up being moot. With our mayor-elect, we may have free buses and the Eagle teams won't make a difference. But the question I wanted to ask you is, do we have any data on the enforcement of the Eagle teams? How many violations have they given? How many warnings have they given? How much, how many fines have been collected and issued?
Since they've been transferred to not only doing SBS buses, but the regular bus routes, but I haven't seen an Eagle team in over 3 years now. And I ride buses.
I saw one a couple of weeks ago, but
Yeah.
on the M86.
Yeah.
But do we have any data on
I can get it.
fares issued, fares collected?
Bring
can
it back
get it.
next month.
I can get it.
That would be awesome. We can go around it like, just a last question. But you said you read something today about the Pokies slow service.
Oh, yeah,
Anything
tell us
related to
about
our
that.
neighborhood?
Yes, the M79 is the most improved bus in, thanks to the bus lane and the ACE cameras on those buses.
Okay,
It's doing
so
much
it got
faster.
more, like,
And the M96, which recently got a bus lane, is the 5th most improved bus. So these bus lanes are working.
Can you monitor the vehicular traffic on 96th Street across town?
If I'm up there.
So, does anybody at MTA?
I know a lot
the
of people.
engineer,
Yes.
the engineer that we talked to.
I went to Long Island on Saturday drive across town, and I honestly forgot about the dedicated bus lane. It probably added 20 minutes getting
I
across
think
town
so.
in a car.
Really?
Yeah.
you should have taken the bus.
And I passed one bus.
For sure.
Surprised to hear that. I've seen people speeding across 96th Street.
Yeah, 83s.
No, we were up there. We walked it with
Yeah.
colleagues.
I think
I think
Speeding-
M96.
It was a beautiful day.
Speeding cross town on
Toward the
96th
highway,
Street?
in the middle of the day.
Is Colleen still, is she still on?
I don't see,
No,
I think she's on.
I think she left.
I will say to the new chairs who are coming, doing walkthroughs makes a big difference. I don't know, like, just having DOT there, looking at stuff. I don't know what's gonna come of what happened when we did the walkthrough, but it mattered when we did the 71st Street thing. I think it makes it real, so
Great.
hopefully there can be more of that.
I was just wondering, you mentioned the new mayor, how realistic is that, the free bus promise, and how is MTA gonna pay
I
for
think
that?
faster buses is very, very possible.
Mhm.
I think the new administration and the MTA and I'm sure the new mayor is very pro making fair fares much higher than 120% of the federal poverty limit, which is what it currently is. Other cities already have it at 200%, and people are pushing to make it 300%. That will get cheaper fares to the people that actually need it. You know, making buses free for millionaires doesn't make a lot of sense. Plus, bonds are issued with fares, and bondholders can sue if that money is not guaranteed. And the governor has already said and the MTA is pretty much come
Yeah,
out.
Jano, basically.
Yeah.
Jano has definitely made some statements on the issue, yeah. So we'll see how that pans out, but I think making them faster is easily done. With transit signal prioritization, which DOT has not done enough of, and with dedicated bus lanes, which supposedly we were supposed to get a lot more of and haven't had, I think those things can make buses a lot faster.
So the answer is it's a no on the free buses.
I mean, we continue to have a problem with bus fare evasion.
Mhm.
Big
As
problem.
opposed to, I mean, obviously we have a problem with subway fare evasion, but in many ways it's easier to tackle that if you can put up a new kind of turnstile and manage it that way, whereas with the bus, it really falls upon the
With proof
driver,
of
which is.
payment,
Driver can't.
which
do
is
it.
coming,
No, no,
Oh, that's dangerous.
proof of payment is, the drivers are in their own partition and they'll all be getting their own, which we hope they're safe in. They've been spit at, they've been punched, don't ask. But, proof of payment, if you run in the back door or if you go in the front door, as many people do, and just decide not to tap or insert, and you're caught, you could be getting a large fine, and if you get enough of those, you could be banned from the system.
you know,
Okay, so,
But
thank
we're
you.
making a lot of good progress in a lot of areas, and the new cars that are coming now, I think I told you this maybe last month, but the G train has CBTC installed all the way from Court Square in Long Island
yeah.
City
you
down to
did,
Church
you did,
Avenue.
You did.
But they can't start the program yet because the cars are being upgraded to 5G radio signals. So they have to get all updates along the route again and in the new cars that are coming and install 5G on them. So you won't see the benefit of CBTC on the G line likely until 2027.
I mean, I think what I'd like to hear about next month, though, it's up to our new chairs, but Andrew, you give the report. I think there's a cultural disconnect between folks who really feel they shouldn't or don't need to or don't understand why they should pay a fare.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this, I
Yeah,
mean this
yeah,
with
yeah.
all
For they're getting in
no,
return.
I mean this
Yeah.
with all seriousness, they really think they shouldn't have to pay the fare. I mean, I don't mean this with any disdain or disrespect, they just really don't understand that paying the fare is part of what the city requires,
It's kind
the
of makes
bond.
you cool if you
Nobody
don't pay the
understand.
fare, you
Well,
know?
there's the cool
Stick it to the
factor.
man.
But they don't feel like they're getting
Well-
anything in return, like for their investment.
Well, they
So,
just
like, where's my
elected-
No,
money
no,
going?
I'm
just
sorry, no,
elected a mayor.
no, people, I'm not trying to open up a big conversation about
But
why
you
people
are.
don't pay the fare. But what I'm saying is we have a mayor coming in now who has
Who
said that he
agrees
wants
with
to.
them.
No, that's not what I'm saying either. My point is that there's a cultural disconnect. We have a mayor coming in with a certain policy proposal about the free buses. And we have an MTA, as you point out, that relies on bonds connected to the fares that most people, 99.9% of people probably don't know about the bonds, right? So what I'd love to hear about going forward as we move toward a new administration is how all of this is gonna come together as a cultural and political and policy reality.
I'm sure I will hear a
That's what I
lot more
wanna
about
know.
this at this month's meeting, so hopefully I can report that next month.
Thank you, not from
Right.
people here, from Andrew, who will go out and bring it back to us and tell us what we
Fair-backed
hear.
revenue bonds, right?
Thank you.
Fair-backed
Andrew.
revenue bonds.
I did get an update today
Fairback
on the
revenue,
capital
yes.
program, and in 2 weeks, you're gonna be able to go onto the MDA's website and look at every station, touch a button and see what's being done to that station,
Oh, that's cool.
when it's likely to be upgraded, how much it costs.
Oh, how much it costs? Wow.
All of,
You
all
can answer
of
your
this
question
is gonna be the
about-
most
yeah.
transparent
That
thing
will
you've
help
ever
people.
seen.
That's
It's gonna be
very,
total
when is
transparency.
That'd be
When is
cool.
that?
2.5 weeks, I'm told.
Get ready for some big numbers.
Okay, if there's no other new business, we can close soon.
Oh, I just had two
I,
quick things.
I have one thing that I wanted to announce just from another community board, and this, Andrew, you may know something about this. Just about city council legislation this week related to the intro 1421 and 1444 on open dining. I think that's a BCI plus a transportation issue. I don't know if you want to speak to it. We have not weighed in.
I
We're not
can.
gonna
It's gonna
discuss it
start a
tonight.
whole-
I just
You
want
wanna-
people to
yeah.
know.
Well, how
it's being-
how
it's
about
being-
next week?
No, my point is it's coming before the
Yes.
city council on Thursday. I would suggest you Google it if you have any questions or would like to go participate in any way. And I'll leave it there. I just wanted to.
Yes.
Any
FYI to
questions, I
people.
would suggest to call Andrew.
And unless Andrew has any
Wear
comments.
t-shirts.
Yeah, I-
Yes, go to the city
I'll
council.
be at home late at night.
Yeah.
But it will probably be in the news, so just,
It will.
yes.
Oh, new business?
That's,
Oh,
that was.
two
my
quick
business,
ones.
yeah.
One, there was a very nice guy who lives on 75th Street. There are a lot of mobility impaired people in his building. He went through a lot of work to get consensus that we need a loading zone in front of the building. He got a letter from the board. He's on the board of the building. It's a co-op that they want a consideration for a loading zone to help these mobility impaired people. I just want to make sure this was done a while ago, that it's not on this month's agenda, that hopefully it'll be on next month's agenda. Again, it's not that we support it. It's just that we will at least consider their desire to have this.
Howard,
this
which
loading
Didn't
zone.
we,
Which
didn't
block
we
of
hear that, or
75th?
is this?
There's another one. It's a brand new
Which
guy.
block, Howard?
You met him.
Well,
The
can
guy,
we come here and
he's
we,
sort of like a 40-year-old guy who
Oh, the
was,
man at the
yeah,
full
very
board
nice guy.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I think
Right
it-
near Citarella.
Yeah, I think
So-
it was planned to come forward December.
and then we'll hear it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hear it. Okay, so that's on the December agenda. And this is a new thing, and that is City Bike,
Just
just,
before you move off of loading zones, may I
Okay.
just say something? I know it's getting very
Great
late.
idea.
And I would, just put this on the table for the new chairs to consider, and maybe I'll, do something with it, or maybe somebody else wants to do something with it. I think that perhaps for loading zones, for members of the community, we would do the community a service if we had an application on our website, much as we do for street co-namings. Because we get these applications and people don't know where to go, they don't know what to do, they come up to us at full
Good
board and we
idea.
just say,
Website.
whatever,
Yeah.
come to us.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be like BCI applications, it doesn't have to be anything lengthy and
Guidelines,
confusing.
like we
So
have.
anyway, just a thought for the future, we don't have to deal with it now.
good idea. And the other thing is, this is a perennial issue. City Bike just removing stations. They removed the station at 68th and Central Park West. Literally, 3 weeks and 2 days before the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. They're also putting up,
But there, I think, I'm not sure if
Permanently?
that's permanent.
No, it's definitely not permanent, but it's why are they eliminating the taking away the City Bike station for a full more than 3
Well, the
weeks?
bleachers are already up.
Wasn't it also?
But what,
the
that
marathon?
raises the question, why are they putting the bleachers up more than 3 weeks before? The bleachers totally obstruct the whole sidewalk.
Yeah.
People have to walk in the street for over 3 weeks.
This is
Do you know the
definitely,
answer?
this has come up on all the blocks in the sixties when it comes to the marathon
Mhm.
and Macy's and Halloween and everything else when the streets get closed and the blocks get closed. There is very little notification. In
There's no
advance.
notification.
No notification, and the block associations. I can speak to you offline about that, but also with the new
But
co-chairs.
the larger issue is that City Bike, there's a station near me that got removed. No notice, no explanation.
This is the one at 96th.
At 91st and Central Park West.
That was noticed.
No, how was it noticed?
It was not, Gail did not find, it was, we heard about it at the 11th hour. It wasn't,
Who heard about it? How'd you hear of it?
I think
Don't just ride
the
on the west side,
community
they go
had
elsewhere.
heard it. I mean, we got a letter of some sort, I think, a notification, didn't we?
We gotta,
Well, I don't recall, we may have.
I think
I think it wasn't,
77th Street.
it was not noticed to the broader public.
My point is there, exactly my point, there should
Right.
be a more formalized
Yes.
way, and,
I-
and we have actually passed a resolution to this effect,
Mhm.
asking City Bike and DOT to let us know when
We-
they're about
Okay,
to.
we should have
about
brought
to
that up
move.
with Colleen.
So,
We can bring it up next time.
Next time, for next time.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
so, yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You hit the end button?
We adjourn.
No, I think we'll just have them hang out.
Thank you.
So what are we gonna do